we can divide in the different categories, the law specifically, which are regulating, impacting, or the monitoring the working hours, condition of employment in the industry. Then there are the other laws which are defining, regulating the wages, how you have to monitor the wages. However, the law, they have these specifically three major objectives, which is assuring, or which are required by every organization to assure the welfare, safety, and health of the industrial labor, or as well as the employee in the organization. And it is the law are specifically defining the minimum regulation which you have to be facilitate in your organization. It does not say that you have to give that maximum to maximum. It is defining the minimum. But however, sometimes the organization consider it a challenge for them, but that how you, the people who are in managing the function of the HR, because HR is the one of the function which is dealing with the people only. The business with the people, business through the people. So what is in this program, so it is a certification program, and where you will be get a participation certificate at the end. How there is a special procedure, so I will share that with you at the end. And till then you have to be with this session today. So one or two important things which I want to share with you, please keep a notepad with you, so that whatever the question during the session you will have, you just note down. Then we have specifically 30 minutes at the end, so that we can conclude all your questions during the session. And another request is, please keep yourself unmute. If you want to ask any question, you can ask in the chat box, so that in between, because this session is going to be recorded, and we will, by tomorrow you will get also the recording of the live session, so that you can utilize it in the future when you require to take the references. Why it is required? Because we are also sharing with you the ready to implementable templates which we are going to design in this live session today. However, we have already designed that for you to assuring the time within the time span, or this time slot. We have divided it in the three separate sections. So in the first section, we will be learn about the law, its impact on the industries, as well as the regulation, and how the HR people, the managers who are the IR manager, who are the payroll manager, and the compliance, and then the operation, how it is going to be help you, and what are the important things you require to be keep while dealing with the people in your organization, as well as if you are a service provider to your client, how you have to deal with their different employment related the regulations, as well as how the employment circumstances in the organization. However, after COVID, there are the many employment related situations change, how it is going to be impact in the future also, and how it will help you to have a amicable and congenial relation between the employer and employee, because you are the bond between the two sides of a business. One is the management, another is the who are the employee, or who are dedicated for the done the business for the business owners. So that is something which here, something I will share with you, something new also, or some strategic things which you can implement at your workplace. So now let's understand the little bit about this platform, what we are and who we are, and why we are into the this developing of the HR professional, as well as the in the HR professional, and developing the professional skills for the future readiness and preparedness of the HR professional. So this platform we have established it in the May 2020, with the objective to provide a learning platform for everyone with a reasonable cost. And then after, we are also into a vision to educate about 100 billions of people by 2040. It is our long-term vision which we want to, so that what is the actual professionalism or professional skill required at the workplace, which these academics are not teaching to all of the who went through the many degrees, as well the academics, so that we are mostly focusing on the whatever in the organization practically, and a professional have to do. So we are focusing that on, and that skill we are going to be developed with the people. And then we are on the mission to where we have to educate around 25,000 of people every year. And then it does not mean that just interacting with the people, it is a valued platform we have developed, where the people who are connected with us, that are long term, expecting the long term association. So that's why we have provided the community to you, where you can contact with us after this session also. If you have any workplace query, you can ask on that community. However, there may be take some time also, but definitely we will be respond on those queries. We have the team of professionals who are already working in some organization. It is the gigs or association which we have specifically built up to help the professional in the different domains. However, earlier in the 2020, when we established this is that the organization. So here we were focusing on early on the digital learning solutions, but then after we have also expanded through the license service through the corporate as well as the corporate consulting, individual and group mentoring services, then the professional resume as well as the digital library. So for that, you can also visit to our website, because here I don't want to share it in the detail because it is just an information part about the platform. Then in the specifically the digital learning, we are providing the solution for the personal development, then the professional development, entrepreneurial development, leadership development, and the business work. There are the maximum the digital program, and some are 2 and 3 program as the physical program where we provide these for the corporates. Then where you can connect to us. So as of now, we are in the different social media platforms also where we provide the insights and updates to our community members free of course, so that you can also connect with that. So furthermore, where you can also get to connect with us, so we have the website also, and then you can also connect with us through the email ID. So where anytime if you don't connect on the groups or the social media platform, so you can also interact with us personally also, so through your email, so your query will be get resolved. It is the free services or the community connection from our side. So you are becoming the our SBR Learning Communities member. So we will expand our services to you and support or guidance when you require at your workplace. So then after we have also the digital academy. So where there are the many programs which I have been shared previously with you. We provide 5 type of the learning programs that are landed there. Today we have more than 15 number of the different program available. So for that you can visit to our website, and then on the e-learn platform you can check out about that. So now it come about me. So my name is K.S. Srinivasan, and I have more than 20 years of experience in the industries. I have been in the industry of the Indian as well as the foreign, that the multinational organization also. And my last assignment was with Southeast Asia with one of the construction company. So now here in with the SBR Learning Studio, I am in that facilitator for the HR and IR trainings only. So this is all about me and about the SBR Learning Studio. So now let's begin with the session, or what we are going to be learn and how the laws are impacting the professional as well as present also, because after COVID there are the situation has changed, the criteria for the employment regulation has been changed. You have to take care many regulations as well as the many the provision in your organization to land your employee at the workplace also, because there are many circumstances as well as some restrictions. So accordingly, what you have to take care if you are a HR manager, because you are dealing with the strategies also for your organization, where you have to align the people with the organizational goal. Second, if you are the IR manager, so it is specifically the interrelation between the people to people, how you are connected with that, how the regulations of the existing labor law and the future labor law are going to change, impact, and so that you have to be prepared and ready for the future circumstances as the regulation changed for the labor law. So then here we have to understand the nature of Indian labor law first. However, when we talk about the labor law, so there are around 78 of the labor laws which are impacting the companies in the different perspective. We can divide in that 4 categories. So one is related to the company, second one which is regulate, monitor the finance, then other are the environment related. As the last one we have divided, that is the labor law, which is specifically monitoring, defining, and regulating the employment in the industries. So when you are a manager, HR, IR, payroll, compliance, and operation, these employment related law, you should have a deep understanding, say that, so that you can have a great congenial relation between the people as well as the employment, because you are the backbone or the middle bone for your organization to having a great relation between the employee and the management, because the business is all around the people only. So then when we talk about the employment laws, we can divide it in the 2 categories, so that are the primary law and the secondary law. So it is based on that some laws which are mandatory for the organization when you are commencing a business or incorporating a business. So there are some laws which you require a prior approval, so that required the primary law. However, there are the scandal law which we have kept in the category of scandal, that are the mandatory laws, but does not require the prior approval. It is similar to the primary law also. You have to comply with the regulation, you have to implement that at your workplace. So that is important for the organization. So it is about the managers who are dealing with the people who are the that is the connection or a link between the management and the employee. So that's why we have specifically designing this program with impacting the present situation as well as the future development, and how you have to deal with the situation, and how the law are going to be help you with that becoming a more professional, and also it is providing you with some opportunity in the future, as well as how you have to deal with the different circumstances that we are going to cover. Then, when we talk about the different, that the 78 of the different law which are specifically impacting the businesses in the four specific areas, so then we finally, where it is business is all about the relation of people, so then it is regulated by the law. So when we talk about the employment law, so we can divide that as per their relation, as per their impact, as of their regulation. So we can divide that in the different categories. However, when it comes to the employment law, so there are around 30 numbers of the law which specifically impacting the employment in the industries. So that we can divide in the different categories, the law specifically, which are regulating, impacting, or the monitoring the working hours, condition of employment in the industry. Then there are the other laws which are defining, regulating the wages, how you have to monitor the wages. However, the law, they have the specifically three major objectives, which is assuring, or which is required by every organization to assure the welfare, safety, and health of the industrial labor, or as well as the employee in the organization. And it is the law are specifically defining the minimum regulation which you have to be facilitate in your organization. It does not say that you have to give that maximum to maximum. It is defining the minimum. But however, sometimes the organization consider it a challenge for them. But that how you, the people who are in managing the function of the HR, because HR is the one of the function which is dealing with the people only. The business with the people, business through the people. So it is important for you to you have the deepest understanding and learning about the labor laws and employment law. Then there are the law which is specifically defining the industry relation. Then in law which is regulating, defining the equality as well as the empowering the women at the workplace. Then social security separately, then prohibitive labor, employment and training, and environment and disaster. Similarly, these are the law which are covering in this whole session today, and then we will have a particular scenario. However, there in the perspective of the industrialization as well as the industrialization, they we divided the industries or industrial sector in the three specific sector, which is known as the theoretically, that is the primary, secondary, as well as the territorial sector. So it is the industry base and the process in the industry. So when we talk about the primary industry, just giving the definition as well as the explanation about the three sectors. So that is about the primary industry sector are those which only processing the natural resources. Then it comes to the secondary. So secondary industrial sector is that where the maximum number of the big industry, the big to big industry come, where the processes are very impactful, but are very dangerous, hazard, or where the one raw material will be transferred totally or changed in another shape, another style, or everything that is a totally different. Where required the specifically there are different type of the compound processes involved. So that's why in the secondary sector, most of maximum number of the industrial laws are applied, and maximum the manufacturing industry, which are more than 60% of the businesses of revenue generating for the country, that is the manufacturing, and their maximum number of the law applied. However, that law which we are going to be covered here in this session, so that are in and regulating, driving the different perspective which we have categorized here: the law related to the working hours, condition of employment, law related to wages, law related to the industrialization, law related to the equality and empowerment of the women, and social security, prohibitive law, employment training, and the disaster and environment. So similarly, we need to understand the nature of these laws, then we can impart with it our day-to-day interaction with the people as well as the businesses. So how you are going to be do that when you are completing this session today, and then further in tomorrow when you reach back to your office, you will be that find implementing those regulation and term, and however the strategies which we are going to be shared, it will be helpful specifically where you have to become more strategist as well as the more systematic implementation in your organization. What we are exactly covering here, as we have shared with you that we have divided the law in the different categories. So for example, we are exemplifying the manufacturing setup. There are the many laws which are in the different category impacting the law. So there, as per the existing law, there are the many very impacting laws, so we are covering here. Then furthermore, we are also discussing and learning about the four new codes, what is going to happen for the organization, and however it is not going to definitely happen, but it is how it is impacting the organization when these four new codes will be implemented. However, there is the date of the implementation is not finalized and notified, but still it is expected to from the 1st of April with the new financial year. So now, when we talk about the different categorization of law, in the beginning we have I have shared with you there is a two category of the law. One is the primary law. Second one is the secondary law. So that are the law which is also important, but it does not require a prior approval by the authorities. Similarly, when we have in a manufacturing setup, it is just an example, but however, all those laws which are going to be covered, that also impacting the other industrial sector also. Like that is the primary also, where the natural resource and processing industries are there, and second, the territorial also. But furthermore, it is the maximum number of the law which applies to the manufacturing, because the processes are more dangerous and hazard based, and most or maximum number of the people they are in the manufacturing setup, and so that's why it is specifically implementing then complying with the health, welfare, and safety provision of the every law, because which are the law based in the IR or based on the labor law, so that is specifically for the assuring the welfare, health, and safety in the organization. Similarly, when we talk about the industries, so there we discuss about the law which are defining the working hour, condition of employment, that are the mandatory those law which specifically are in the category of primary law where you require the prior permission. Similarly, when we exemplify our factories, so in that there are the law which is regulate the factories or the manufacturing rules, that is the Factory Act 1948. So there are the specifically the provision provided which you have to initiate or which have to implement or you have to comply at your organization or with your organization. Before getting such approvals from the authority, you cannot run a manufacturing process or business from our premises. So that's why it is a primary law where it is a defining or regulating the working hours and condition for the factory specifically. Then there are the many provisions which has been prescribed under the law. You have to be facilitate that, and those provisions are mandatory obligation for the employer. Even though there are the condition of the working hour for the adult, you have to be define that, and the employment of the young person, you have to be define that. But these are the major obligation for that, and for those obligations, there are the that are also the punishable offenses which is defined or prescribed in the law, and it is mandatory for the organization. You need to be comply the regulation of the law. So, for example, it is about the factory. If these obligations are not fulfilled, so there is the provision of 3 years of imprisonment for the employer and fine up to 2 years. Similarly, those laws or the law specifically, which are the organization or the industry that are not factories but that are existing, which are in the primary sector as well as the territorial sector also. So there are the separate law which are defining, regulating the working hour and condition of employment those industries. So similarly, that are the law like the shop and commercial establishment. It is applies maximum to the territorial industries like the industry of your warehouse, shop, and commercial establishment, the hotels, restaurant, KPO, BPOs, where there does not any manufacturing process, but there are business processes of the services through the people or technology. So then you have to similarly assure the provision of health, safety, and welfare in those industries also. Similarly, you have to assure the employment of adults as well as their working hours. Then you have to facilitate the specifically the opening and closing hours. Here also you required, it is the primary law also where you require the prior approval to commence a business from a premises. Under the provision of the shop and commercial establishment, these all those regulations which has been prescribed and that need to be implemented or assured by the employer to their employee, because the businesses are about the people and it is around the people only. And then if those obligations are not fulfilled by the employer, so there is the provision of at least to have up to 1 lakh of the fine to the employer, then cancellation of their business license or restoration under the Shop and Commercial Establishment Act. So these are the law or the existing labor law which regulate define the working hours for the industries. There are also the different shifts provision are also there. How you have to deal with what are the different spells of the rest. Also, you need to be facilitate that to the your in your organization for your employee. So that is a minimum requirement which you require to be assured. But if it does not complied or it does not fulfilled by the organization, there are the provision of punishment too. And similarly, the maximum number of the organization, now there is the trend in the corporate where you specifically engage the workforce through the outsource, which is known as the corporate terminology as the outsource, but that are regulated by the Contract Labor Act 1970. It is similarly the objective of this law also to assure the health, welfare, and safety for the employees who are not directly employed by the principal employer. So similarly, it is have the obligation that both the parties means one the principal employer who are engaging any outsourcing party to deploy the workforce at their place. So you need to be registered or you need to have a reservation under this law when you are going to engage a third party. Then the third party who is providing or facilitating or deploying the workforce at your place or in your premises, they also need to have a contract license. If it is not there, so without this regulation, you cannot have the engagement or the such workforce at your premises as well as your location. So it is for the principal employer, it is required to be assured these provisions. Then there also the provision of the similarly the punishment under every law. Why that punishment is there? It is there because the minimum regulation or the minimum requirement which is assuring the health, safety, and welfare for the employee in the organization through the employer. So that's why there are the provision of the imprisonment. Then these are the three different law which is specifically in the category of first, that is the defining, regulating, and monitoring the working hour and condition of employment in the different industries. So now it comes to the another. So there, when you are engaging the business is all about and around the people. So then you are engaging the people to render their services for your organization to achieving the objective of organization. Then there are the provision that you need to be assured the minimum wage to them what you need to pay. It is based on the specifically the essential commodity one person can fulfill for themselves. However, it is not so much as the specifically the central law has been given right or the power to the state. They will prescribe their own wages as per their circumstances, their business policy as per their revenue of the state. But for the employer, it is mandatory to that you need to assure at least the minimum wages in your organization. But the organization, what they do there is it is required by the law that the what is the minimum wage. There have been two basic component. One is the basic wage and another one is the dearness allowances, so that there it should not it cannot be bifurcated in the different components. So that is also the obligation for the employer. However, under the law, the minimum wage, the wage at 1948, its provisions that are not the specifically as per the primary, but it is mandatory where you have to be assured. Then there are the specifically the provision of the skill-wise wages you need to be assured that. Even there are the specifically the smallest regulation which you require to be facilitated in an organization, but if the employer are not fulfilling these some provisions and the obligations, so there is the similarly it is also the punishable offense considered by the law. Then there are the provision of the 6 months of imprisonment and fine up to 1,000 rupees. Even you are engaging the employee, you are paying the minimum wage to them, which has been prescribed by the law, which the employer have to assure. But now there is the another question. So when it's required to be paid, is employer can do it by themselves by 1 month or 2 month basis? So there are also the minimum provision described, prescribed by the law. So that is the Payment of Wage Act 1936. It is about the law which is regulating the wages in the organization. So this law is saying specifically defining the responsibilities for the employer that you need to be paid. every amount to the employee, to whoever you have engaged. So whatever the amount is payable to them, it need to be paid to them. So there is defining the period specifically. As of the existing the wage payment of wage act 36, it is defining that if you have the workforce less than 1,000 numbers in your organization, you have to assure the wages to your employee that is within the 7 days of your pay period. If you are engaging the above 10,000 number of the employees, so it is a responsibility of the organization or the employer that you need to assure the wages to them by 10th of the next month for your pay period. And then if there are any employee who has been left or they are not coming, so in the general language you can say that, so it is required to be assured every payable amount to an employee, whatever they have earned in the organization, you need to assure that within 30 days. However, recently you are aware about that one information or one thing which is coming in, that the organization need to assure the full and final within 2 working days. However, it is already available there, but the provision of the strictly implementing law was not available there. So that's why the organization where you are holding the full and final for many days. However, there are also the provision inside where you need to be clear, the people, they need to be clear their every thing, or they need to be have their all clearance about getting the closure of their account. But furthermore, there are the certain things as the law which is prescribed, which you require. I mean, the employer required to assure. So how can you do that? It cannot done by the employer. It is the representative of the employer. Who are that? That are you. You means the HR people, the manager HR, payroll, buyer, compliance, and the operation of how you are dealing with these law and how these regulations in the organization defining, regulating your relation with the management or with the employee. So similarly, what are the provisions which has been prescribed under the Payment of Wage Act 1936 that are also the punishable offences considered under the law? For that, there are the provision of the 1 month imprisonment to the employer and fine up to 1,000 rupees. So now maybe you have the question why the employer is responsible everywhere. The punishment will be to whom? Because he is the owner. He have the working control of his business. So the business is not about the employee; it is about the employer. So that's why the employer will be responsible for assuring all those laws. Then after in the wage, where it is defining the wages for the organization, then another law which is about the bonus act, or which is about the bonus. Why the bonus? Because the businesses are, or the what are the goals of the organization, their business goal that are achieved by the people who have been who has come together with a common purpose to start a business. So that is to achieve the even the financial profit or the financial objective also there. So how they will be achieved? That will be achieved by the people. But now the question is that when the profit, whatever they have defined, it is achieving through the people, what is for the people there? So the law has been prescribed in 1965 that there should be some bonuses to the employee also, who are the ultimate force to generating the profit to the employer. So that's why it is assuring the minimum bonus. However, that is the 8.33 of the minimum of their wages which would require to be paid for the employee. And then after there, it is required to be for every factories, every establishment. But however, there are also the some provision also provide where it is not required by the new incorporation or the organization which has been recently incorporated. So there is some exemption up till the 5 years. But you need to be very aware about what is the connection with the 5 years. So that is for the new corporation. It is not for the new establishment. So understand the difference between the incorporation or the establishment. Establishment means if a company is an incorporation, which is registered under the Companies Act 2013 or the 1959 earlier. So there are the establishment, like they are establishing the different factories and location in the different states of India. So now in 2022, you are establishing a new establishment or new company, new not company, new factory in another state, but you would that the mother company is established with 20 years back. But in that case, does this regulation of the Bonus Act 1965 applies to that new unit? Yes, of course. It will be applied because the law is defining it is for the incorporation of that particular company or organization, even though these provisions, if it's only specifically that you need to be assured the minimum bonus of the 8.33, and then if this provision are not fulfilled by the organization, so there is the provision of the 6 months of imprisonment and the fine up to the 1,000 rupees. Now if that thing will be happen to an employer, but will be impacted to them, that will be impact to them, it will impact their business, because the law is saying that your businesses or license will be surrender, or your license will be cancelled. When the license cancelled, so their business will be closed. When the business will be closed, it will impact them financially. And if the employer, he will be punished with the imprisonment, so it will also impact their personal image in their competitor. So that's why it is impacting the employers. That's why I can say it here, the existing labor law are the pain point for the organization. Now who will be help to the organization to get out from that pain? It is you, the people who are dealing with the HR, who are dealing with the IR, who are dealing with the payroll. It is the compliances as well as the operations. So it is you who can guide to the organization and helping them out. But in reverse of that, what it is for you, so it is a opportunity for you where you can brand yourself a specialist in the area, so that you can also, and the management, they will have the confidence over you when you are helping them in that way to uh, getting them out from this pain. However, that pain is still there. However, it is there are the more than 76 years of independence of India's independence and the industrial law establishments. Then there are the another law which is specifically defining the provision for the related to the social security. So it come to the another category of the law which is defining the social security. So in that category, there we are discussing about the one law specifically. That law is providing the statutory right to the employee, where the employee can claim the gratuity from the employer if they have worked for the 5 years. So this is about the payment of gratuity act 1972. Why it is, and why you the required to pay the gratuity? It is specifically about when the organization, they see that the every employee, they should be retained with them for the long term of the perspective. So that's why what the employer they are paying to them, it is enough to pay them some annual bonus. It is impactful to pay them the minimum wage. It is impactful that pay that wage by seventh of. It is not. What is the motivation behind them? They can be work for you the longer period. So that's why the law is defining specifically there should be a long service reward. So for that, the payment of a gratuity act was enacted in 1972. And this is the only law which is providing the statutory right to the employee. They can claim the gratuity for from the employer, but there are the condition also. You should have been work regularly for the 5 year period. And in that case, what you, the HR people, have to be, you are also the responsible for both providing, helping the organization to getting out them this pain, or also helping your employee what is their right, what is eligible for them, and what is specifically prescribed under the law. That is the minimum requirement. You need to be assured, and you have to coordinate with your management to have a congenial relation, associate relation, or which is known as the industrial relation in the organization. It is depend on you how you guide your employer, so that in your every organization you need to be assured or update the period specifically about the employee who has been left, so that you need to be assured that it can be become a big obligation if you are not paying the gratuity to the employee who has been completed 5 years of services. However, this is the retirement plan when it will be applicable, or applicable only on then when they have been superannuated or they have been left the organization. But furthermore, if these two and the three provision of the law you are not fulfilling or complying by the organization, so it is also the punishable offense. So for that, there are the provision of the 1 year of imprisonment for the employer, and however the fine is not too much there. Then similarly, as the social security law, so that is the like the retirement scheme by the gratuity, and then separately there are also the employee provident fund and the employee state insurance, which is also separately providing the retirement scheme for the employee through the employer. So these are the two central enactment. One is the EPFO, which is assuring three types of the benefit to the employee. So that is about the providing them a sum of amount at their retirement. However, in between, if he left the organization, so he can also withdraw that. But further, it is the retirement scheme, so that they can also live their life independently with freedom after their retirement. Then after there also the provision of the pension scheme, so that there the regular commodities or the regular stuff so they can do or they can record all that things for that. So there after the provision of the pensions also under the law. Then third is there is the some the emergency cases or even the helping to the dependent of the subscriber of EPF. But for that the organization what they need to do, it is the obligation for the organization. First of all, every organization that should be covered under the EPFO. So it is the responsibility of the people who are dealing with the law. So where the organization, there are 10 or more, but earlier it was the 20, but in the, it is now for the maximum number of the organizations, there are the 10 or more who are working in the preceding 12 months any day, so you need to be covered your organization with the EPFO. Then after, it is the responsibility of the employer now, the deduction, recovery, and remittance of the contribution, where there is the contribution for the employee and the employer that you need to be deduct, recover, and remittance to the organization. And however, there are also the condition which the many organizations also feel to them, that the you cannot reduce the wages if one time you have been started the contribution. So you need to be very much assured about that where and how you have to be define the wages for you. Or however, there is in defining the ceiling of 15,000 under the provision of the EPFO, but accordingly you need to be considerate. But the people who are only getting the less than 15,000, how you can recover, deduct, and remittance their contribution. So there is the ceiling of the 15,000 is the gross wages for people who have below than or less than 15,000. You have to deduct the EPFO for the full amount. Then you have to submit to the EPFO organization. Then after that will be facilitated to the employer, that the every subscriber of EPFO. If it is not available there, so there are the also similarly the provision of the you 1 year of imprisonment and the fine up to 5,000 rupees that has been defined under the law. However, maximum organization out of 100, so there are around 60 to 70% of the organization they face the case of 7A and 7Q under the EPF, because mostly they bifurcate their the minimum wage also in different component of food, reducing the that the contribution for the EPF. It is the wrong practice, so you need to be, if this practice is anywhere, you need to be verified in organization so that you need to be corrected. Similarly, when there are the social security during the employment, the law are also prescribing and providing the provision for the social security, or even that the different type of the provision for those class of working who cannot have the much money for their emergency stuff, like in the case of the medical issues. So that's why this law is the additional benefits and advantage also. It is helping the organization where transferring of the different types of the obligations to the employee state insurance act. So here is the maternity benefit act also, the compensation act also. So these provision it is also covering. So it is mandatory for the every organization that you need to be cover your organization within the or under the ESIC Corporation or Employee State Insurance Act 1948. However, as of now, the ESIC is not applicable throughout India. It is applicable for the specific, it is a maximum number of there, only some parts are available where it is not applicable. Where it is applicable, you need to recover your organization, your establishment within the provision of the Employee State Insurance Act 1948. It is specifically the during employment benefits and social security relief for the working class. However, there is also the condition, the employee who are getting the wages, it is gross wages, because law is considering only the gross wages. It is not the corporate concept of the cost to company. It is the gross wages which you are paying on the monthly basis. That is the gross wages, where are specifically the component of your basic, then your specifically the dearness allowances which is included in the minimum wage also. Then there are some the retaining allowances. So that is your gross wages, or every law or labor law that are attracting the gross wage only for the consideration of the law. So now whose wages are less than or below than 21,000 rupees, so they need to be covered under the provision of the law. So who will be covered up with that? This is the employer, and it is now you helping them, and how the employee they can get the benefit. So it is your responsibility. If you are the HR manager, you are IR manager, and then you have to assure these facility to the employee, how they are getting benefit from them. So in the case of the emergencies, so that they it can be help them during the medical issues, if funeral, if even that they demise someone, or the insured person in the organization who is working in an organization who is insured for under the ESI, so they can get the different types of the benefits. However, these provisions are also the mandatory obligation for the employer and that are defined and prescribed by the law as the punishable offenses. If these provisions, like your organization is not covered, it is in the area where it is applicable, and your organization have more than 10 employees, so it will be have the provision for the 3 years of imprisonment and the 10,000 rupees of fine. Then it comes to the another, like the now it is specifically defining the condition how the employee and employer behavior should be in the organization. So there are also the separate provision of the law available. So you need to be deeply understand that. So however, when we talk about the regulation specifically related to the defining of the condition of employment, so there is separately the law applicable or existing. So that is the industrial establishment of Standing Order Act 1946, which is known as the Standing Order Act also. However, this is defining specifically where you require the certified standing order for the industries or factories, specifically where there are the 100 and more employees. It is with the existing law and it's considered, but ever it has been changed during the specific COVID period. So many company or states they have revised the provision for the applicability of the certifying standing order. Then further, there are the new provision has been adopted in the new code of the social security as well as the other law which is defining the working hour and condition and the IR also, so that we are going to be discussed in the second section about the industrial relation as well as the four new code where we are going to be covered. So it is all about, so specifically every organization they have the agreement, they have the service condition in every organization. However, if you don't have a thoroughly gone through the industrial standing order, but there is a agreement between the employee which is defining the services, so that is the appointment letter. If you have to define a law abiding appointment letter, so you need to be go with the Industrial Establishment Standing Order or Industrial Employment Standing Order Act 1946. It is all those regulations which are the clauses your appointment letter have, so that all are derived from the Industrial Establishment Standing Order Act 1946. So however, it is specifically for the industries where specifically you have modified the condition of employment. There are the two types of provision available. However, it is required for if you are modifying the different rules, if you have the different shifts applicable, so you have to get the certified standing order. But there are the provision of the model standing order. So whatever the rules and regulation in your organization related to the conduct of the employee in your organization, so for that you need to be have the deep understanding about the standing order. So it will regulate your term and condition of your employment. Even every document or even you are engaging any employees, there has been defined that you have to be comply or you have to regulate and you have to follow or you need to be bound with the term and conditions. So the every term and condition that will be based or regulated through the Industrial Establishment Standing Order Act 1946. Then there are after the provision of the certain other law which is specifically considering as the prohibitive law and also providing the equality and dignity specifically to the women in the industries. So what is there? It is the new enactment. So it is now the very important and important for every organization to assure. So that is the POSH Act 2013. That is the specifically every organization have to assure the sexual harassment of women at the workplace, their prevention, prohibition, and redressal. So the regulation prescribed under the POSH Act 2013. So specifically, what the organization have to do and the organization how it will be done. So it is you, the HR people, who will be guide through the organization, the management, what they have to do and what are the regulation. It is mandatory for your organization. However, it is defining that every organization they should have constitute the internal complaint committee for specifically about the harassment of women at the workplace. So IC is that mandatory for the every organization where there are 10 or more employees. So there is a question also, if the organization they don't have less than 10 employees, so this law does not apply to them. It is not that it is applied to them, but the constitution of the committee is not mandatory to them. And there are also, under the law, there are two type of the committees. One is by the internal committee by the organization, and there is the local committee, which will be regulated by the district officer. The district officer is the authority for the POSH Act 2013, who will be monitor the provision of the law by the organization. They are regulating it, they are they are following it, or they are applying the regulation of the law in their organization. Then every organization, so policy required to be framed specifically for the prohibition, prevention, and redressal of the sexual harassment at a workplace, where the organization, with the attention, management attention, you need to be frame a policy that your organization have the zero tolerance for sexual harassment at workplace. Then you have to implement all those provision, and you have to display that order, and then finally you have to submit the report to the authority means the district officer also, and that you have implement that provision. So it is a mandatory, and it is also the new opportunity for the professional, where it is required that there should be one person outside of the organization in the committee. So it is for that, so that this body can work as an autonomous body, and they can have the penal consequences based on the independent opinion, and all the decisions should be done on the majority basis. So that's why it is mandatory that every organization should have the IC committee with the members of the internal and external, and who will be the presiding officer. She should be, or the mandatory, the senior most female of that organization. So that is one of the the most important regulation which required to be implemented by the organization. If the provision of this law does not fulfilled by the organization, so there is the provision of 1 lakh rupees fine and the cancellation of the business license if any case happen related to the FIR. However, related to the harassment of women at workplace, there are also the provision of the case filing under the IPC also. So the organization need to help that the female employee who are aggrieved in such a condition, or she has been found that she has been harassed by the in the organization during their work, and however it is after the working also, so it is applicable to others. So that's why you need to be assured the provision of this law in every organization. So this is as about the existing labor law, which are defining the different perspective of the law that are in relation to, like we have discussed about the law which is defining the specifically the working hour condition of employment, like that is specifically the for factories act. For shop and commercial, that is the other industry, so that is the shop and commercial. For engaging of the contract labor act, so that is the contract labor act, which is defining the working hour and the condition. So that are the primary law specifically. When there are the wages, so wages, there are the three different types of the law which is regulating the wages as of the existing labor law. So that is the minimum wage, payment of wage act, and the bonus act, which is defining specifically how you have to regulate the wages in organization. So it is the mandatory minimum requirement which the organization have to facilitate. Then it come to the other law where it is specifically providing the social security. So law is defining the minimum social security, that is in form of the, even though the VFA, EPF also, as well as the specifically that is about the during employment facility, that is under the employee state insurance. Then the long-term reward also, it is applicable for based on the superannuation or the retirement, that is the gratuity also. These are the law which is regulating, defining the social security. Then there are specifically the code of condition and employment conditions. So another law which we have discussed about the industrial establishment standing order 1946. Then further, there are the law specifically which is the new enactment which is mandatory for every organization, the POSH Act 2030. So these are within the existing labor law, and that law is defining the regulation, prescribing the regulation which required to be implemented by the organization. If that are not implemented, so it is the punishable offense for the organization. So in that case, if those obligations are not fulfilled, so employer will be penalized. Employer will be in that the penalized with the imprisonment, as well as the imposed with the fine for the thousand and lakhs of rupees. And this will impact the employer with their businesses, with their finance, as well as with their reputation also in the business market. So These are the current scenario. So that current scenario also having a pain for the organization. Now the people who are dealing with the law, even that you are defining the strategy for your organization, you should consider the law with the defining of the strategy, so that you can have an amicable relation between the employer and employee, so that the employer can achieve their business goal with the people. So it is the bond between you who can bridge that gap through guiding or advising the people. So now it comes to the scenario for the new labor codes. What is going to be happen, and why we discuss these different category of law in the existing. So that it is that same, or it is you may aware about that it is known, the new four codes, labor codes are known as the historical reforms in the labor law. So, however, that labor laws are nothing new in that, that are only the merger of the existing labor law, which we have already covered in the previous section of this section 1. So there we have divided in the beginning in the different categories. So similarly, there are the law which has been picked up to put that in the one category. So law which regulate the wages, so that has been merged with the Code on Wage 2019. Then the law which is regulating the industrial relation, so that has been merged with the Industrial Relation Code 2020. Then the law which is specifically defining, regulating and monitoring the safety, health and working condition. Earlier we discussed about the working hour and condition of employment, so that all laws are merged with the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020. Then other law which is regulating, defining the social security, so that has been merged with the Social Security Code 2020. These all about the, there are around 29 of the existing central law which has been merged with these four new codes. So now question is that if the news are such type of there about the reforms and the impacting the organization, what is new in that? So what is new in that? How it is helping you in the organization to emerging a new opportunity for the professional in the future, as well as how you have to be ready for these implementation ready, so that we are going to cover in the second section all in the practically. But furthermore, we need to understand what are these laws. So when we see that it is the reform for the organization and it has the historical reform, so we can see, however, the law specifically the compliances and the implementation of the law, it is considered as the paperwork. So that's why most of the professional, they don't consider it's the impactful work or have the specifically where it is helping the people to grow. But now it is going to be a big opportunity. Before that, we understand the reform in that it is at the documentation. Earlier, with the existing law, there are about we have to maintain different types of the record in the form of the register, which has been prescribed under the law. But there are, it was with the existing law, it is around 40 number of the different record required to be maintained. But when these four new codes will be implemented, so it will be required only 11. Then there are the return we are submitted as the status of compliance facilitating in the organization. So with the existing level, it is about around 22 numbers of the return you require to be submit. But when these four codes will be implemented, you have to submit only four return in the composite way, or the consolidated return in the four. As per the one code, you require to be submit only the one compliance status in form of the returns. Then there are the license required. However, as of now, with the existing level, you require to be obtain around 10 numbers of license. But further, there that the two number of license, but when these four new codes will be implemented, it will be three. Then where it is required mandatory, the abstract you require to be displayed. But with the existing level, it is around 20. But when these four new codes will be implemented, it will be 13 number only. Then there are the restoration. So as of now, with the existing law, it is around 5. When the four new codes will be implemented, it is about 3. And similarly, the remittance will be remain same with the ESIC as well as the EPFO. So this is the front and upper side scenario where we can share that it has been the historical changes, and it is also impacting, or it is giving the relief to the employer or the organization where you have to be maintain the very less number of records for provision or these four new codes and its implementation of the regulation. So when we go into the deep, so it is saying something else. and that is going to be impacting the organization and professional tremendously. So how? So that's why I am sharing with you. I have shared with you in the beginning. It is going to be a big opportunity for the professional, but you need to be have go deeply with the understanding of these law. You have to become more perfect as well as. However, no one can be perfect, but you have to be go deeply with the understanding and its implication as well as its learning impact, or how it is going to be impacted and how you can help to the organization. So let's have a scenario here. What is inside the law? In the when we have discussed the existing labor law in the different categories, so there we discuss about there are the punishable offenses for the employer if the obligations are not fulfilled. So it is imposing some punishment in the form of imprisonment as well as the fine to the employer. So the turning point is here, and why these four codes are going to be impact the organization tremendously. If you help the organization, it is also going to be a big opportunity for the professional to establish themselves as a specialist as a brand in the complying with the regulation of these new four codes. So what are that? So when we discussed in the initial the existing level also, there are the provision of the fines and imprisonment if the obligation of the laws are not fulfilled. When we see what is going to be changed as per the existing as well as the future, the four new codes are going to be implemented. So as we discussed, so there are the law, existing labor law, which has been merged under the provision of the code of wage 29, which is regulated the wages in the industry. So that are your payment of wage act, the bonus act, the minimum wage act, and then the equal remuneration. So what is if the obligations are not fulfilled? So there are the provision of the fine as well as the imprisonment for the employer. But when we see with these existing labor laws, there is a provision of the fine if any obligation does not fulfilled by the employer. So it is about 500 rupees only, and minimum and maximum it is 20,000 rupees. And there are the provision of the imprisonment, so that is the minimum 1 month and maximum 6 months. But when the code on wage 2019 will be implemented, what is going to be changed about your punishment? So that is here the minimum fine, which was the 500 only, that has been changed for the 20,000, and the maximum it will be 50,000 rupees to for a single obligation which are not fulfilled. For example, if any organization they does not fulfill the five number of the obligations, so how much fine will be imposed to the employer? It is 2,50,000 rupees in the considering of the wage code 2019. However, there are the four new codes, so that will be implemented in all one, and their regulation will be similarly in all one. Then similarly, if we go with the industrial relation code, and that has been the merger of the three existing labor laws, the Industrial Employment Standing Order, the Industrial Relation, the Dispute Act 1947, and the Trade Union Act 1926. So within the law, there are the provision of fine minimum 100 rupees and maximum 5,000 rupees only, or there is no provision of the imprisonment for the employer with the existing labor law. When these four new codes will be implemented, what is going to be happen in case of the obligations are not fulfilled? The fine, which is minimum 100 rupees, it has been increased for 50,000 rupees minimum and maximum 2 lakh rupees. If any organization they does not fulfill the provision which is with the existing level, when this the code will be implemented, so their fine it will be imposed to them for a single obligation which are not fulfilled, 2 lakh rupees. For example, here you can also exemplify the five number of the obligations are not fulfilled, so it will be 10 lakh rupees fine to the employer. So then similarly, the law which has been merged under the social security that are already existing, the provision are available there. There are the category and the relation, or specifically the nature of the law, which is regulating and defining the social security. So that has been merged with the social security code 2020. So now, what is the chain point in that? So that is all about where it is impacting the organization financially. So how, as per the existing labor law, how many there are the 7 and 8 number of the existing labor law which has been merged under the Social Security Code 2020. So that is minimum fine which can be imposed for an employer for a single obligation, that is 500 rupees, or maximum it is the 20,000 rupees. And there are the provision of the imprisonment also for minimum 3 months and maximum 3 years. And when this Social Security Code 2020 will be implemented, so the fine which is with the existing level of 500 rupees only, that has been increased for 50,000 rupees. And it is, if there are the five number of the obligations are not fulfilled, the fine will be imposed for the 1 lakh rupees for a single obligation. So for example, there are also the five number of the obligations are not fulfilled, so fine will be 5 lakh rupees. If you add all that in the first code and second and third code, so it is around, there is the 10 lakh rupees, 2 lakh and 50,000, 12 lakh and 50,000 and 5 lakh rupees here. So it is the 17.5 lakh, means 17 lakh and 50,000 rupees fine will be imposed to an employer with these three new codes. Then it comes to the another one, the one of the most important code on the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020. So there are also the 7 to 8 number of the existing labor law which has been merged under the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020. So as per the existing labor law which has been merged under this the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code, there is a minimum fine which can be imposed to an employer, that is 500 rupees, and the maximum it is 1 lakh rupees under the provision of the Factories Act 1948. So there is a provision of the imprisonment. It is the minimum 3 months and maximum it can be 2 years. But when the new or the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020 will be implemented, the fine which was minimum 500 rupees, that is going to be increased for the minimum 50,000 rupees and maximum 5 lakh rupees. So for example, just consider if the five number of the obligations are not fulfilled, how much will be the fine imposed to the employer? It is 25 lakh rupees. So when you accumulate all that, 17.5 lakh rupees and 25 lakh, it is around 42 lakh rupees, 42 lakh and 50,000 rupees will be imposed to an employer for not fulfilling the compliance under the provision of the labor law. So now, does it the reform for labor reform or the historical labor reform, or it is something else? So it is specifically becoming more impactful for the employer. So now how you will be help to the employer, it is how you implement the provision, how you be prepared for it, and how you will be ready, and how deeply you go with these law, and how you assuring its provision in your organization, so that it can be save the 42 lakh rupees of your employer. And if your employer have to pay these to the authorities, what will be happen? So they will be kick out that people who is responsible for the assuring of compliance in your organization. So that's why we have designed this program for specifically for the managers who are into HR, who are into the payroll, who are into the associate relation, who are into the compliance as well as the operation. Why you should deal with? Why the operation? You may have a question the operation will, they are responsible for the operations also because they are interacting with the people. They are also the manager, HR manager for the people, because they are dealing with the people. That's why they need to be aware about the provision of the law. You all together will help your organization to save them their money, and it will also be opportunity for the HR people. It will be help you. It is going to be a big opportunity for the HR people when you understand and when you deeply learn about the provision of new law and you are prepared and ready for implementation of it in your organization. So it will build the confidence of your within your management. It will be build up your credibility in the organization as an individual as well as a section of HR where you are dealing. So now there are the also about the HRBP where the HR is considering as a part of businesses. So those people who are well and in the labor law or the employment law, they are also sitting in the corporates. They are sitting in the boardroom. They are advisor for the organization. So that's why it is going to be a big opportunity for the people who deeply understand the provision of these law and who are prepared and ready for the future implementation. because it is going to impact the organization tremendously, even though in the financial business, however, the employees also. How? So here we have one small analysis and presentation for you what it is going to be changed when these four new codes will be implemented. However, as the reform, there are the one and two conditions which has been giving relief to the organization. As per the existing provision of the law, there are the 16 different types of the provision considered for the wages, because the law is considering the wages. So first of all, if the law is bounded or any dispute happen or that the industry relation issue happen, that is based on the wages. So as per the existing level, there are the 16 types of the definitions given for the wages. So one of the reform which we can say that for within the new four code, that is the given a uniform definition for all the code consideration, and that should have the definition, like there will be the basic pay, the DNS allowances, as well as the retaining allowances. So it is talking about the gross wages. It is not talking about the corporate concept of the cost to company or CTC. It is about the gross wages, and the law is considering the gross wage which will be on the document. Then there are also the provision of the basic pay bill B, which is a new concept, has been adopted under the wage code 2019, that will be 50% of your gross wage, and every contribution and every law or its the contribution deduction, then the compensation that will be attract on the basic wage, that will be 50%. If it will be 50% of the gross wages, as of now it is just the 10 to 15 or 20% of your total gross wages, which we are calculated based on the your cost to company, then it is impacting the employer and employee both financially. How? When the every contribution that will be based on the 50% of the wages, that will increase the cost to the employer. And if the contribution will be deducting on the 50%, it is earlier was only the 20% or 70% of the wages, then further it will be deduct, or on the 50% it will be decrease the wages for the take home salary for the employee and their take home wages, which is their direct earning. So that will be impacted. However, there are the separate provision which has been defined and prescribed under the new wage codes, that are the separate definition has been given for the worker and employer. However, with the existing law, there are not separate definition for the employee, it is the altogether worker. Then there are the concept of the floor wages has been prescribed or that incorporated, where the every 5 years central government will define a centralized floor wage. Based on that, state will define their particular state minimum wage. And however, there are the criteria has been given, so that will be the urban, semi-urban, and rural, as well as their the geographical condition also. Then there are this definition for the contractor and contractor labor separately defined under the provision of these new four codes. Then there is a provision related to the period of wage, which we had discussed in the payment of wage, that has been also changed in with the new provision of the wage code. So it has been defined the every wages that need to, whichever is payable to the employee, that need to be paid within the 7 days of your pay period. However, there are also the provision for the if the employee has been left, or if the some that the employee they are not resuming, so that in that case it is required for similarly as per the payment of wage act 30 days. Then the provision of the standing order, as I mentioned, that it has been increased for the 300 workers now, where you required to be certified standing order. Then there are the provision which has been made for having the congenial associate relation and IR relation in the industry, so that you need to be constituted the grievance committee in your organization for the more, if there are 20 and more employee in your worker, or based on the 20 number of the worker in your organization. Then there are the provision of the aggregator has been mentioned and prescribed. Then the reduction for the gratuity period. When these four new codes will be implemented, specifically the social security code, the gratuity period, the gratuity will be applicable. However, it is the remain it's statutory right for the employee, but they can claim it within the 3 year of working, or if they left the organization within the or completing of the 3 years. It is not within, it is completion of the 3 years. Then there are the provision for the free annual checkup. It is made mandatory for the every organizers. You need to be assured free of cost annual health checkups for your every employee. Then there are also the new provision which has been enacted or which has been incorporated in the new codes, that is about the leave. So, however, as of now, with the existing labor law, the organization are facilitating three types of the law. One is known as the earned leave, then the sick leave, and casual leave. But in the new law, the scenario has been incorporated that the casual leave and sick leave, which earlier maximum organization they are lapsing that if the employee does not avail those leave. But the new provision or the with the new labor code, the provision of the other leaves, which is apart from the earned leave, so that will also be encashed and carry forward for the 30 number of the accumulated for the further period. Then after you have to encash that. Employment of the women that has been accepted beyond the 7 p.m. and the before 6 a.m. It will be helping for the organization, but there you have to facilitate the through and through and with the safety security so that they can commute freely during those time. Then the if you are engaging, there is the provision of the new concept coming, that 4 day of working in the week, so 4 day work week. So there are also the condition applied. You have to deeply go with the somewhere the organization or the who are into the advising the organization. It is interpreting wrongly, so it will be impactful for the organization. Then the employee consent for the overtime you require, and with the assuring of the double pay. So these are the all summary about the four new code what is going to be happen for your organization. Then it come to that what you have to do in the further to implementation and about learning of these four new codes. So here I have some presentation for you which will be help you in the future, or as well as designing and structuring your pay structure, because it is required when these four new codes will be implemented. So there you required specifically that you need to be restructure your wage structure in your organization so that you can implement the provision of the law. So what is in that, what you have to do as per the provision of the new law. So here is one presentation for you, and all those samples which we are I'm going to share with you, so you will get that all as it is after the completion of this session today. So as of now, the minimum wage which has been as of now, so that is including the basic pay as well as the DNS allowances. This is the current concept of the minimum wage. And as per the provision of the current and the changing of the new law, what is going to be happen, where it is attracting the contribution of higher level when the your basic pay will be 50% of your gross wages. So but how it is impacting to the organization and what you have to do. So you have to see the different scenario. So as of now, there is the minimum wage where the sometimes the organization they divide it in the different component, but however it cannot be. So furthermore, there is the ceiling of the 15,000 rupees, where if the wages are deducting or the PF contribution are deducting on the basic pay, so it is all about you have to be pay as of now the 960 rupees if you are back. However, it is not beyond the, it is in within the law, it is beyond the circumstances of the law. But in the scenario number two, if your basic salary with including of the DNS law, it is 12,000 rupees, which is for example the 12,000 rupees the basic pay or the minimum pay defining by the state, then you are paying some allowances, HRA, then conveyance as well as the washing, and your total gross salary will be 20,000 rupees. As of now, with the current regulation, you have to pay how much? You have to pay the EPFO for the ceiling of the capping of 50,000 to 1,800 for those employees. When the new situation or the new concept will be implemented, so that your contribution will be reduced, because it will be the 50% of your gross salary will be your basic pay. So here is the minimum pay which you cannot bifurcate, so you need to keep the minimum pay in the your basic pay. So that's why it is reducing the PF contribution, for that is helping the organization to reduce their financial contribution. However, it is in the case of if you are paying the wages other than the minimum wage. because in the maximum number of the organization, the maximum number of the workforce that are the within the range of minimum wages, so it will be impacting them. So accordingly, their the financial or finance, they will be contribution will be impact to the organization, and that will be increased for them. So you have to be structure your wages accordingly. But there are also the another scenarios where are the executive also their wages are above than the limitation. So then it is required, then you have to be pay as per the 50% of your whole wages which you are paying. Then furthermore, if you are dealing with the international worker as of now, with the countries where we don't have the the social security agreement, so there you have to deduct the EPFO for those employees for their full gross wages, whatever you are paying to them. But when this new concept will be implemented, that will be help you. You need to be consider the 50% of their total the salary or wages what you are paying to them, so that the contribution will be attract on the minimum, that is the basic wage, which is 50% of the paying what you are paying to them. So there will be also financial impact, or that will be reduce the financial impact or the cost to the employer. Then similarly, the another case is also like in the gratuity, you have to pay the gratuity, or as of now, the gratuity will be paid on the basic wage, and it will be calculated based on it. So what will be happen when these four new codes will be implemented? So it will also reduce the financial impact to the employer. It will now increase because it is going to be 50% of your gross wages. Earlier it is as the basic pay. So what will happen? It will be around 15% increase for the financial impact to the employer. It will increase the cost to the employer for the gratuity payment. Similarly, there are the some compensation you are giving to the like retrenchment, closure compensation. So in that case, as of now, any compensation which you are paying, that will be considered by the law as per the gross. But when this condition or the new wage concept will be implemented, it will give the relief to the employer. So when it will be based on the 50% the wages of the basic wage will be 50% of your gross wage, and it is for the consideration of the every code. So there it will also help you. You have to be pay the lesser amount of compensation as per the what you have to pay as per the recent law or as per the existing law when these four new codes will be implemented. Then it's come to specifically under the occupational safety and the working condition code. So there, as of now, the your wages. So that will be like the overtime you have to be paid. Earlier it is for the gross, also you are paying that on the maximum. Then furthermore, it will be basically on the 50%. So you need to be calculate or pay the overtime. It will also reduce the cost for the employer. Then similarly, the minimum wage, so that will be 50% for the employer now, and as of now, it is the basic also the basic pay. It will be as per the minimum also as it is defining. But now with the new concept, you have to be define it as the 50% of your gross wages. So then you can keep the smaller component, but furthermore, you need to be also consider the impactful and the which can attract the less or save the income tax for the employer. So specifically, you have to also design your structure or restructure is accordingly where all the regulation of the law you can provide or facilitate to your employee and benefit them. So that's why for that we have designed this concept for you. You can learn it deeply, you can understand it, and then restructure your pages. This template, it will be reached to you as it is, so that you can implement, you can analyze, you can then have a pre-study of your organizational structure and pages, how you have to change that when you have to be implemented the four new codes, or when it's a regulation you require to be implement in your organization. So this is the first the template which will be reached to you as it is. So now it was all about the section 1 what we have covered about the existing labor law, and then secondly we have covered about the new four codes which are going to be implemented in the new financially. As of now, it is not that notified, but it is just a news, and but it may be also for further. But assure it will be definitely implemented, and you need to be well prepared as well as ready for the regulation for implementation in your organization. If you understand it about it deeply, if you implement it, you have that practice, you have designed, you have prepared well in the advance, so it will be help you to give you the new growth of your organization, and also it will be help you to build your credibility brand yourself as a specialist. So how to do it, I will also share with you. So that now welcome in the section second. So there what we are doing here, we are learning about practically how you can assure the compliances in your organization. It is for everyone, and that is the HR and the IR management compliance related payroll, as well as for the operation, how you have to deal with. So yeah, we will be learn about the level of compliance management portfolio establishment, how strategically you can comply with. So there's some new formulation I will share with you. Then furthermore, it will covering specifically the developing of the compliance management portfolio. However, please confirm in the chat box so that we can start the session of the section 2, where we are practically learning about how you can assure the compliances within the existing level law also, as per the prepare for the future and become ready. So here we are sharing, or I'm sharing with you specifically how to develop the compliance management portfolio based on your prospective for the future implementation of the law, the new regulation or the change. It is not new, it is specifically little bit changed regulation, but it is impacting the organization, so that you have to be assured within this organization. It is also the opportunity for you how you can help your management or your employer to impacted by financially their business as well as their personal area as their personal domain also, so that it will be help you to build your credibility. I will also share with you some strategies that are essential for the level of compliance management specialist, the four specific qualities how you will build up that. And there here I will share with you one of the automatic system which you will be developed with this level of compliance management portfolio in the organization. It is not about only for the managers, also the compliance people, it is for the payroll people, but it is specific for them. For the operation, it is only dealing with them. You need to be also make them aware about the different provision of the law, so that because they are directly interacting with the people. So that's why in the organization maximum we have seen that where the industrial unrest has happened, so it is specifically where there are the good biases relation between the manager of the operation as well as the employee, so it has been influenced by them also. Then finally it impact the HR functions who are specifically considered and known for the people orientation function in the organization. Now this is also known as the business orientation, where you have to also be focused, but in the future you have to now become the more labor relation as well as the businesses into the regulation compliance as per the employment regulation of the law. For that you have to be deeply go with the understanding learning about the four new codes implementation, and specifically how you have to implement the new regulation, so that you need to be have the prepared regulation as well as prepared that the action plans how you are going to be ready for the implementation of those provisions. So what we are going to be covered here in the section 2 going to be covered. So here we are understanding the perspective of the labor law as well as how it will be help you to assure every compliance as well as have a congenial relation, and then further developing a USP for your future career opportunities and career base. So here we are learning as well as specifically implementing the level of compliance management portfolio, which is based on the three different pillars. So that are, first of all, we have to understand the structure. When you understand the structure of the law, it will help you to how you have to implement it. So for that we will go with the three layer of process, then the two layers of reporting, because you are also the employee for an organization, you have to report that. We have been with many organizations so and studies. So they are the people who are responsible for the level of compliance. They assure their compliance or organize specifically for appeasing of their employer. It is not for that. So that's why mostly the people they fail in the function. So here you have to be comply for the authorities and as per their system. What is their internal system? So here I'm sharing one advanced tool with you how you can comply the regulation of the law in your organization as per the authorities and their internal processes, so that you can work one step ahead to those authorities. So now let's understand. Let's begin with the pillar one of your statutory compliance management portfolio, that is about the three layer of structure. When we understand about the law in the beginning, first section I have shared with you, there are the law which have specifically two types of the law. One is specifically the primary law, which requires the prior approval, and then there are the secondary law, which is mandatory but does not require the prior approval, but it is correlated with the law. However, there are the different industry for that. A different industry, there are the different law which regulate the employment condition and their working hours. So that all are two interconnected. When there is any issue or any case happen, when the court how they decide the matter, or they decide and how they give their judgment, it is considering of all the similar condition of the other laws also. So it means all those law which are also applied to the other industries and regulating their condition, it is taking the reference to all the laws to for one open condition, it is not there. Similarly, you have to understand it when you have to implement the statutory compliance management portfolio in your organization. So first of all, you have to understand the structure. So it is the three layer. First of all, when we divide the law in the primary as well as the secondary, so when it comes to the primary law, which is mandatory as well as it requires the prior approval to commence a business, so there will be the certain approval required to obtain by the employer. Then it comes to when you obtain the approval, so they with that approval it has been conditioned, you have been instructed, there will be a long list of the condition. With these conditions, this certificate or this approval has been granted to the employer, whatever only name that has been obtained. So there has been condition, in that condition you are also liable to implement the provision of the secondary law. When there are the both the primary and the secondary law will now become applicable to your organization, you have to maintain the certain records which is in the form of the forms and registers and documents and application forms, so that are prescribed under the law which is applicable to that organization. So here now in the second layer, you have to be initiator. All these provisions you have to implement. Based on that implementation, you have to maintain the record. Why that record is required to be maintained? Because the authority, they are the regulating and monitoring authority. They required the certain record you have actually implemented it or not. Then when you are complying the regulation, you are maintaining the records of those implementation of the law, which are specifically the primary law as well as the secondary law, which are applicable for your organization. Then you have to comply with the regulation with submitting of the periodical compliance status to the authority, that is in the form of your return. However, the prescribed formats are available and described or prescribed under the different law and its rule, but you have to be convey and you have to communicate the status of your compliance through to the authorities within the prescribed period or the periodical basis. So that has been defined as per the law, which are applicable to it. May be the monthly also, it may be the quarterly, it may be half yearly, it may be annually also, or biannually somewhere also. So that's why it is the structure of the law. So it is saying that first you need to be get the approval that your industry are existing, and then with these condition of the law, you are regularizing the this you are the processing of your manufacturing activity, ever whatever is the activity that you are bounded with the regulation. The minimum law is not saying that you cannot help the organization does not have some additional welfare that the facility in your organization. It is saying that the minimum law is assuring only minimum that you have to maintain, and for that you need to be submit the compliance status in the form of the return. So this is all about the structure. So what you have to do now, so there you have to be develop a whole master calendar or the master plan for your labor law compliance and management portfolio, how you have to implement it. This is the final stage. So why I am sharing it from the final stage also, so that you can work in the background. There is the long process involved, but finally how it will be look alike. So there we have prepared one specific template for you based on this structure, so that you can understand it easily, and when you have to implement it, so it will be help you to consuming your lesser time. So what is in that? So here we have prepared one template for you. When you have to implement, it will help you to develop the first two skills of a labor law compliance specialist. Even though it is not for the anyone, that the operation people can also become the compliance specialist if they know about the law. If they go with the deeply understanding, they can also start their another career with the services provider for the organization as the labor law specialist or advisor. Even though they can also start their career, because there are the opportunities also in now in the labor law with the new circumstances and rule regulation which are going to be implemented soon. So it will be giving the tremendous opportunity for the career growth. So now what is here with for you, what you have to do. So here I'm sharing with you that, so it is one of the template we have specifically designed for you that you can implement in your organization, so that you can implement this portfolio in your organization, so that you can get maximum involvement of your organization as your team also. Then finally you can build up your credibility also. But furthermost, it is about your first skill, that is about your credibility, that is about your foresightness. So that is about your vigilancy first. So first skill of the level of compliance specialist required, that is the vigilant. You should be more vigilant. So this template will assure your vigilancy in the level of. However, this template you cannot use for only for the level of compliance. You can also utilize it for the further your activity in your organization. Then how it will be help you. So this is the one the 3 pages template which you can be uh, take a print and place it at your desktop. We have divided desktop means at your desk where it will be visible for you, because people can learn more from hearing and understanding through the visually. Because when the person who are into the labor law, they should have everything on their fingertips. You cannot remind it every time. You cannot carry a diary every time, because when you visualize anything, so that will be help you to remind further and longer time, that will be in your vision. So now, as per the 3 layer of your structures, we have divided in what are the approval required. For example, in the beginning I have mentioned that we are going to be exemplify the manufacturing setup, and accordingly we have here all those maximum number of the law which are applies to the manufacturing setup. However, it does not mean that are not applicable to the the secondary sector as well as the primary sector or the territory. It is applicable to them, but the condition is specifically which are the working hours and the condition of employment defining for that such industry specifically. So here, when we talk about the manufacturing setup or as well as the secondary sector, so there you require the certain approval. However, it requires for primary industry also, it requires for the secondary sector also. So for that, there may be certain types of the license which you require to be obtained. Then there should be some consent, because there are the law also the environment and disaster which require to be complied. Then there should be when a permission, that the premises you should have, you it may be rented, it may be a lease, it may be your own. So for that you have some plan, building and the security safety plan available. Then there will be fire safety certification or NOC should be there. Then your social security registration under ESIC and PF should be also there. Then the registration under the contractor certificate and registration you required. However, if the your premises is on lease, so that is also required to be registered a lease for the premises. So this is all your approval which you required. Then if you are dealing with the multi-location, so then you can incorporate the different location and their status. Then it is further where we have mentioned the remarks also. Here you can put up the in what location role and that relation location, what are the lacking point, what is not the as per the required or the ideal status, so that you can assure that. So that this template will help you when you place it at your desk, so that it will be visible what you have to do that, and what you have to do in the particular 3 months later for the foresighted and the long-term perspective, so that you can assure everything. This is in part of your approval. Then after in the second layer, we have discussed about the records on the basis of what are the records you require to be maintained under the provision of the different law which is applicable for the organization. So it comes to the records now. So as per the factories or how many laws are applicable to a factory, so we have covered up all that here, so that it can be easy for you, you can implement. So what you have to do here, so you have to just You can take a printout of it, everything is there, but you have to change that as per your specific state. What may be the frequency? You have to define a frequency for the everything. But this is the master template. It will, as per the compliance, you need to be done for the final sharing and final status submission. So then, whatever the record you require to maintain, what is their frequency, you need to mention who is the person responsible for that. You need to be assured so that we have already designed it accordingly. Then monthly basis in what date you need to be assured that, so that you can be more foresighted when you have to be comply with the regulation very strategically. So whatever are the record you have to require to be maintained under the provision of the applicable law for your establishment, so that you can also add up here. So what you have to do then, as per the law of the provision, so you have to be maybe in the state there are the for the state the phone number and the compliance are same in all the state throughout India, but in the state there is the phone number may be different, and the total number of the form and required to be maintained the record it may be different somewhere in the state for a particular under the factories act. For example, so there are the unaffected there you require to be 70 number of the records maintaining, but in the other state it may be 12 and 13, some other state it may be 11. So accordingly you have to check out for your state, but you can easily implement that within this template. So this will be help you to become more vigilant. What you have to do today, what are the status, so it can be become on. It will be always on your fingertips. Then further, it will help you to in the long term what you have to do in the month of, like it is February, so in the month of October, which are the compliance of the regulation you have to do, and what are the status of that, so that you can become more vigilant and that the foresighted for that. What are the new regulations that are going to be changed or when it is required to be implemented? So it will be help you for making you or assuring these first two skills of labor law compliance specialist, that is becoming more vigilant as well as the foresighted. Then it come to the submitting of the compliance status. So what are the records required? So that we have also already incorporated in that, but the phone number you have to be changed. The due date it is as per the state, or specifically when you have to comply with the regulation of the authority, so it is as per that. There may be it is equally in all the same in the maximum number of the states, and if it is changed as per your state, you have to be changed that. Then in which month it is applicable, so it is the scenario same for all state, but then you have to be changed a little bit. It is required, so you can implement this master template for your organization, so that you can assure the compliance without any hassle. This template will be reached to you as it is for your implementation, and this recording of also will be available, so where that you can also have a connection between when you want to refer these documents for implementation of the labor or compliance portfolio in your organization. Then it come to the next one. So this is all about your three layer of structure, how to do. This is the final stage when, but behind that there are the long process, so we have to be understand the process, how easily and impactfully, strategically, and with the system you can develop this level of compliance portfolio for your organization. Then we have to go with the pillar 2, that is the three layer of compliance process. So what is it there? When you have to go to the three layer of compliance process, we have divided it with the working of that. So that will also help to you. How it will be help you? We have done one deep analysis related to the primary sector where the manufacturer. So what are the law which is applicable to an organization and its regulation which will be comply within the organization, that is related to the safety also, that is by the payroll, so that is by the that who are into the specifically compliance, who are responsible for that, and specifically the employment related as well as the associate relation, so that we have covered up here. So that's why you can assure everything, every smallest thing in your organization, and assuring the every regulation of compliances. It is based on one particular state. We have picked up their internal processes of the authorities. It is similar in all these states, but the form number as well as the serial number of the form and the maximum the changes in the or the difference between state to state, the regulation and rules of the labor law, that are only about the number one, the scenario where you are required to have the and obtain the applications, their fee of the application it will be different, and the second one is their the form number that will be different, and the serial number of those form it will be different. That are the majorly three types of the difference from the state to state. So now here, how you have to implement and how it will be helpful easily. So for that we have done one important task for you. So there we have developed a long evaluation as well as the compliant as inspecting your organization establishment based on the existing law as per which is applicable. Then similarly it will be helping you in the future also. You have to add that accordingly. However, we will be updated as per the new codes when that will be implemented, so it will be help you in the future. What is in that, what you have to do, how it will be shown. So here, and how it will be help to you implement it on the three stages. So we have divided in the three stages, but going forward, you can implement every regulation of the law. So what you have to do, it is ready to implement. And furthermore, when it is ready to implement, what you have to do now, so there we have covered around 27 number of the existing law. So as per the scenario, we are here exemplifying it as a factory. So what is applicable for the factories, what is required to be every regulation with the rule of the, even it is from the specific state, but it is the definition of the rule is similar in all the states, but the section may be different, or its requirement will also be same, only the forms and format will be separate. So there with the section, what is the requirement for under the Factories Act 1948, and similarly the other law which is applicable to a factory and other industry establishment, like the Industrial Employment, like the Industrial Dispute Act, and then the Contract Labor Act, then further the Employment Exchange, the Interstate Migrant. So where we have covered need about 27 number of the existing labor law. It will be help you that what is exactly you require to be comply in your organization. So there specifically we have defined here what you have to require. So it will be applicable for all the states similarly, but there will be one of small changes which you require to have to be do, or which you require to be do. Then there is the certificate of reference which is required. Then what is the compliance status? So this is the master template where you will be evaluate or assess the your or audit, inspect your organization what is required and what is applicable in your organization compliance, so that you can identify the gap. Then you have to go with the three layer of process. Then also you have to be defined that the who will be the person of in charge where the gaps and will happen, or it before you can do that, who will be assured that, like it will be the operation people, or who will be assured the safety. That will be the maintenance people or the utility people also, who will be assured the machine safety also. And it will be the admin team also, and the other people who are responsible for that, you have to define those people. And then the periodicity or frequency you have to define. Then the further, if there is required to be something, if there in case happens, so you can add in there. Then whatever you are finding based on this status, so what is your findings, what is required to be, so it is your finding here in the remarks, you can put up it here. Then further the course of action you require to submit. However, we have exemplified it for your learning and references. Then with whom the people you have made it responsible here, so that you can also get the concerns from that with the signatures and initials. Then it will become a broad document for where you have the concerns with the people, and you have the making them responsible for the future, so that they can assure it by themselves, and those are the people. When you are implementing this level of compliance management portfolio in your organization, you are working in the administrator for the level of compliance. So in that you have to build up the team, you have to build up a CFP for complying, or you have to be develop, or you have to constitute a compliance committee in organize, so that however you can do it by yourself also, but when you have to implement it and assuring the 100% compliance, so it is better, or it is a suggestion for you to constitute a compliance committee, so that there you can add up to the some senior level people or department heads, so they will give you one or two or three people only, so they will give you the third party viewpoint based on the provision of when you will be shared this whole template with them. So when the different people they have different perspective for one statement, so that you can reach effectively to comply all the regulation with the different perspective of opinions. So that we are going to be shared with you. So based on that, you can utilize and get the gap of your existing compliances, and for the future, you can also utilize it same. So now let's go with the next one. So that is now the process. So then when you will identify the gap for your current status, as well as when the new four new codes will be implemented, so that you have to be go with the internal processes. So internal processes means you have to do something with the gap. So then it comes to the agency. Agency means it is the two type of agency. If you are the service provider to the any corporate or any your client. Then second agency is you are the corporate itself, you are a professional in the corporate, you are engaging the agencies like the contractor also. So how you have to be assured, because it is the responsibility of the principal employer to assure the compliances for the contractor too. So how you have to go with for the compliance, assuring of the compliances for those agencies. So this second layer will be helping you. And third one is the labor law department, and specifically where we have seen in the maximum of the organization, they assure the compliances for appeasing their management. Then finally, there will be any inspection happen. However, it is as per the every state internal their authority regulation. Every 3 years, your organization will be evaluated, assessed. But further, in the future, it is going to be online also, and it is going to be not very strict, but as of the existing labor law, you have it is mandatory, and every 3 years it may be possible to inspect your organization. But it is not for that inspecting only, but it is the matter of the assuring everything, so that there cannot be any industrial unrest, there cannot be any accident happen. So if you assure the everything in your organization which has been prescribed by the law, the minimum requirement. So here we have one separate tool which has been collected from one specific state for you. Based on that particular tool, we have designed all this portfolio for your readiness and preparedness for the future. So what you have to do now, so here at the first layer, you have to go with the internal processes. So for that, when you have identified those gaps, and that gaps, you have to now have an action plan for the implementation. So how you will be do that? So here is the action plan for you. So here now I am sharing it with you. When you are when you identify based on the master template which I have been shared with you. So based on that, what are the gap you are identifying as per the provision which you have need to be complied with, even that are the approvals also, even that are the record maintenance also, and even that are the compliance status sharing in form of the return. So you have to be design a action plan. So in which month what you have to do, so what is their plan, and then you have to define their the action you are taking care, and when actually you are performing. So here the due date, it should be as per you, it should not be as per the authority that has been defined and the law has been defined. It should be as per you, so that you can that the comply every regulation of the law before there will be, it is you need to be share communicate with the authority. So here the due date you can define by yourself. If by the authority it has been given by 15, so you can define it with by the 10 or 12, so that you can assure everything. And one additional thing which you require, if you have to be submitted the compliance to the authority, it is have a due date. So due date means that document, that compliance, that communication should be reached and acknowledged by the office of the authority on that particular date. So that will be compliant, so that you need to be work accordingly. Then you have to the all that what you have to do, and then you have to be initiate the activities with your plan, so then so that you can reach to your the plan and target date whatever you have defined for that due date. So that you have to be work with this plan. So this planner we are going to share with you for the gap which you have identified based on that master template. You have to incorporate that all in that. Then you have to be this also display. You can also have a specific the display board for your the compliance as well as the HR functions, where you can display all those activities. So it will also help you become more accountable. So first you will become more vigilant, then foresighted. Then now it is making you more accountable. What is your activity plan and when you are going to be achieved? So second, it will also help you because there are the common practice of the organization where the different departments as well as your management can visit your location or your office, your desk. Then they will say what are the strategic way you are applying. So they will also build up some confidence on you. You are doing a specific or the specialist thing or a specific systematic thing, so that you can assure the similar way for the other function or activity of yours also. So this is where how you have to be implement this planner. Then after it come to the layer number 2. So that is the agencies. What you have to do now, even if you are a service provider for the corporate or your clients, if you are the professional in the corporate and you have the vendors, so this you can utilize the layer number 2. So there we have also specifically defined, it is also the like the template for the inspection also, where you can utilize, where Utilize it to identify the gap of the compliances which you require to be implement for the agencies as well as for your client. So this is also one of the action planners. So where we have it. However, it is for in the provision or perspective of the contract level for your agencies, how you have to be conclude the compliances or showing the compliances to them. However, as per the law, it has been prescribed that the principal employer is the responsible for the compliance of the contract labor also. So that here we have mentioned everything, but you have to change according to your scenario. So there is the what is due under the provision of the contract. It is not for the contract, it is the applicable every law for the contract or your agency, where the other law are also applicable. So that is the like the welfare, if any state it is also, then the employee provident fund, the employee state insurance, then the other records that you require to be have for the such establishment as well as the agencies also. Then you have to be identify what is the current status, then what are your findings, and then what is your action point for the further labor, how you have to assure it for the agencies by the agencies. So what you have to do it here, so this template as it is, it will reach to you for your references and implementation. So further what you have to do here for the assuring this level of compliance management portfolio and the compliance of your the agencies. So you have to assure a water based or implement a quarterly auditing system to them, so that it can be every quarter you have to be guide them, and then you have to ask them for the compliance has been done or assured by them, and then you have to be audit them quarterly basis so that they can be assured. However, the contracting agencies or the contractor, they will not assure you. Many organizations we have seen that the contractor are not doing, so that you need to be very strict to them, and you need to be assured, and you need to have some punishment for these compliance, so that you can assure that maximum the compliance or the issue related to the industry relation that happen with the contractor also due to the contractor and agencies. So then now it is the third one. So third layer is specifically about the labor department. So now the assuring of compliances, it does not mean you have to assure it to appeasing your management. They are the people, or they are the people specific, the business owner. They have appointed you as a representative assuring them. So that's why it will be decide your the career sustainability in your organization when it will you will be implement this. So it will be build up your responsibility and assuring your credibility in the organization when you will be work according, and you will implement this based on the scenario we have been implemented, or we are going to be share it with you, or we have already shared with you. So how you have to implement. So in the third layer, what is here, it is for the agency specifically. So for that, what we have done here, we have uh, captured, or we have arranged that the one particular states their the internal system, how they execute the inspections as well as their audit by the authority, so that you can assure that similarly in your organization it is. However, this the procedure of the it is specific for the some specific state also, but every state that have, if it is possible for you to arrange that, so that you can arrange, otherwise it will also helpful for you. Based on this whole template or the system of the agencies, we have developed that in the first the grand checklist we have shared with you, where you have to use that for the auditing of your current status of your organization. So that all the laws are available here, we have also picked up it here. So what will be inspected by the internal agency as per the applicable law. So that we have covered up all those laws which are required for the even the compliance for the factories also, shop and commercial, the other law also. So that has been here also, we have added all those law from here, because when you work according to, when you assure the compliance according to the agencies, what are their procedure and provision, so that when they come to you, they will ask any question, or they will give you some the non-conformity, so that then you can also counter to them, because you have assured it as per their internal system. So it means you can work one step ahead to them. You can also counter them if they are that giving any NC to them. So this there is the around 25 number of the pages. So you will also get this template so that you can easily understand it. And if there is any gap happen, however, we have prepared the broad checklist for you to evaluate, to inspect, audit your current status of compliance in your organization. So this will be reached to as it is for your implementation. So then it come to the third pillar now. So third pillar is here about the reporting. So now it is about that you are also the employee, the organization, they are also the management, they are, you have also to share your progress. However, that the when you work as per the level of compliance management portfolio, even though that is not for the level of compliance also, as your other function also, it does not require to you have to report your work. It will be automatically working. But finally, as per the procedure of the organization, you have to be shared. But here we have something for you where you can conclude your presentation within 5 to 10 minutes. Because the management people that are the business oriented, that are the financial minded people, they does not have any time with you to just a sharing of your compliance, what you are doing. But they need the assurance for you are doing it perfectly and you are assuring everything so that there cannot be any issue for the organization. Many organizations we have seen, or the people who are responsible for the ensuring of the compliance, they assure their compliances for the appeasing their management. So in the document, everything is okay. When there is any inspection happen, then there the or your compliances tower that totally dismantle, and then finally what happened? The people or the person who is responsible for the compliance, he will be kicked out by the organizer. Otherwise, they left their that organization by themselves. So that when you implement, you have to assure, you have to become sustainable in your organization, so that you need to assure the compliance management portfolio, which here we have been shared with you. It is a strategically, it is the way that you can implement the compliance in your organization or assure the compliance in your organization without any hassle or a systematic way. So that's why we have worked in background too much to giving you that less than work or lesser work, and so you can implement this portfolio in your organization. But now it is about you are also employee, you have been, you are also expecting something great for you. So that's why it is the other scenario, or it is the practice of a system of you or every organization where you have to present that the status of your activity or its how it is going forward and how you are achieving the goal of the organization. So monthly basis you have to be assured. So there are the different types of the platforms, which is known as KPI, which is known as BMMs. BMM is specifically, many time in the previous session people have asked the question about BMM. It is the monthly business meeting. KPI is your key performance indicator sharing, which is known as somewhere in the organization as MIS sharing, monthly MIS, daily MIS. So that is all about the activity status. Similarly, you require to be shared it. It is the system of your management organization, because your management also wants to know about how you are doing it. For that, we have one template prepared for you that you can utilize for sharing your achievements, as well as reporting your compliance, how you have done it effectively. So for that, what we have done here for you, so here we have prepared one page template for you, which you can utilize in your organization. So that is based on all that scenario which we have covered as of now. So what is it here? So finally, it is based on the, you have to divide. However, this template we are going to share it, you have to just incorporate your activity and the final status here. So it is just a one pager. So you can conclude it within 5 to 10 minutes. What you have done, what you have done, and what is the status. If you are that dealing with the multiple locations, so you can add all the locations here. Then you have to divide it based on the three layer of the structure: your approval, your return, and that the record whatever you are implementing. As per the approval, what is the instruction is there, so what are all that status. So you have to be assured that if you are dealing with the different status, then you have to assure the status. Then what is your further action if there is any point which is not fulfilled, so that you have to be go with the next step, how you are going to be sure. So this is the one pager which can be concluded within the 5 to 10 minutes. However, if your management, they are also asking you about how you have done that, what are the actual activity you have done, so that in the background we have also prepared something for you. So there what you have to do, so there it is similarly that what are the approval required and what are the approval is available for the organizer, what is their current status and what is your action. You have to assure that. Then it is about the your different document and the status. You have to be sure in which month which is applicable, what is the due date, what are the forms, and with which location it is, and what is the due means it is in which month you are also sharing, so that it we have been prepared for, so that it can be more interactive and more interesting for your management how you have to do that. When you present in this way, so that will be increase their curiosity how systematically you can do furthermore. Their the expectation will be increased from you, and their confidence will be build more on you, so it will be helpful for your career sustainable in the organization. And furthermore, when you go deeply with the law, and then it will help you to build your career USP further, because it is going to be a new opportunity when these four new codes will be implemented for the organization. Similarly, when the records you have to be maintained, so that we have also added here, so that we have to be present if they ask. Otherwise, you can conclude it within 10 to 15, that 5 to 10 minutes only. And because I have been shared with you all this template, you can utilize it to display at your that you place as your in your desk, or as otherwise at your office location, or your where is your cabin, where is your seat, so you can have the separate specific notice board where you can place these activities and your action plans. Then it come to now the layer number two, what you have to be reported. So it is the periodical, occasional, quarterly, and manual. But we have done it here. So here we have arranged one specifically all that applicable law for the industry. We have prepared one dashboard for you, where you does not have, if you have any questions how you have to do, where you have to do, to whom you have to be report in case of the compliance. So we have prepared all that things for you, so that you does not require to go some refer some books, also go for the deep understanding of the book. So here we have covered up everything for you, and there we have around 20 or 19 or 20 existing labor law and their different scenario where you have to submit and what you have to do, and was the provision also we have been incorporated in that dashboard. So like there is around 18 or 19 law which is applicable to the industries. So there, what are their different forms required? What are their sections? What is in the description of that form? What is required to fill? And what are their schedule and submission? Whom you have to be submit and how you have to be submit. So that we have already covered everything for you, so that it can be easy for you to implement all the laws which are required for your organization. What is their regulation? What are their provision? What are the different the format which has been prescribed, so that you can implement it? What are the rules and section of the particular law? How it is required to be implement? What are the authorities and what are the frequencies? So everything we have been added it, so that your questions about the implementation of legal or compliance management portfolio can be answered automatically, but just you have to be refer this dashboard. So this will be reached to as it is for your references. So now it is 122. So there it is all about the level of compliance management portfolio, the section 2. Here we have discussed about the three layer of the three pillar of your level of compliance management portfolio, where you have to understand the or divide all your applicable law in the three layer of the structure that are approved, that are the record, and then after the compliance status in form of the returns. Then you have to identify based on these, you have divided, then you have to identify the gap. For that we have provided for you the whole checklist how you have to be identify the gap. Then you have to go with the process. So there is a layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and that you have to assure as per the authority. So here we are providing the specific template for you, so that you can work ahead, one step ahead to the authority. Then finally, you are also an employee for an organization. You have to be report to the your management, as well as the if you are the service provider, you have to give the quality service. So there you have also report the status, then how you are concluding that and with the time. So that there we have also provided template to you how you can go further with this program. So now let's welcome you in the section 3. So section 3 is specifically the question and answer. So we will cover up your question and answer, whatever are there, how much time it will be take. But before that, I'm sharing one next level facility, or the next level of your level of compliance specialist, how you can implement all these provisions in your organization and assuring your success of the level of compliance which are going to be in future. For that we have one level of compliance specialist certificate program. So that is for the aspirant who are going want to become a specialist and looking for the new opportunity in the level of compliance portfolio or level of compliance career, which is going to be a big opportunity for the future. So here how the managers or HR manager, IR manager, payroll manager, they can now work as a leadership role in the organization, because the people who are into the HR, they are also now in the boardroom. So this will also help you to reach in the boardroom. So what is exactly in this? So this program we have specifically designed with the developing these four advanced skills and the quality of the labor law compliance management specialist. So then, furthermore, this is one of the hand-holding program. However, it is the self-paced learning program where you will be get 90 plus recorded video sessions, which are around 100 plus hours of session, where we have developed all that scenario practically, which you have seen here, the different type of the template. That template is available there, which have been developed for your practices as per the law, as per the practices in the organization. Then there you are getting the lifetime access of these 90 plus recordings of your video section, where you can learn on the self-paced. However, this program is the hand-holding program. It does not mean that you just learn from your self-paced learning through the video. Then after, we have also two live hand-holding session where we will be help you in the implementation of that learning in your organization, resolving all your queries, and then sharing with you the latest update related to the labor laws. Then after all that, the live template which we have prepared, that will be reached to your saved to in your personal custody. And then finally, there are also the completion certificate. However, this program you will be get the dual benefit. One is you will become the labor law compliance specialist, and furthermore, additionally, we have also added the post practitioner certificate also, because this is also one of the a requirement for every organization where you should have a post practitioner. So here it is the additional opportunity for the professional, where you can also have the you will become also the post certified practitioner with this program. This is also the project based program, and you will get the certification where the aspirant, they need to be submitted the based on the learning, submit the their assignment, and our team will be evaluate assess that the assignment. Then after, you will be get certified based on your category. Then it is more than the 10 hours of additional practical learning. Then there is the 2 fortnight live doubt clearing, that is also within the same program. Then it will be about the 15th and 30th of every month. So however, it has the one new session which we have started from the 14th, where the orientation has been done for the previous member also. So we conduct the orientation program every Friday. So then Saturday we conduct the live session for this program. So then what we are exactly covering in this, we are covering here the more than 30 number of the existing labor law, and the additionally 4 new labor codes also, so that you can be well prepared before these codes will be implemented. So then what are you are getting finally? So there will be the around, earlier it was the 75 hours of the assured practical learning, then question and answer more than the 30 number of hours. So it is total of around or double in the 100 hours of self-paced learning. Then after, the two number of the live interactive sessions where the doubt clearing, implementation, the workplace issues, so that we are going to be help you with it. And it will be based on the whole our developed this technique about the WSTS. What is the technique? I'm showing that you. So exactly where we are covering the here specifically with this program, the 33 of the existing labor laws and the 4 new codes, which has been divided in the 10 module that is related to the law, which we have discussed in the previously, like that defining or regulating the working hour conditions separately, then law relating and defining to the wages as well as the industrial relation employment. So here I'm sharing with you the what is the curriculum of this program. So when we talk about it, is divided in the 10 different modules. So in the first module, all that law which is regulating, defining working hour and condition of the employment, so they are all that 10 to 11 number of the law which we are going to be cover up. Then next one, in the module number 2, what we are going to be cover all that existing law which are defining the wages in the module 2, and module 3 all those laws which are regulating, defining the industrial relation. Module number 4, that is about the equality and empowerment of women, which we are going to recover. Module 5 is about the social security, and module number 6 is about the prohibitive labor law. 7 is about the employment and training. Eight is about the companies, so they how the company secretary are working, what are their requirements. You will be understand and learn that deeply. You can also work as the, however, you required the ICSC, but further you can work as a company secretary and understand what is their practical learning as well as their practices and the responsibility and role of the company secretary in the organization. Then the separately the law which are assuring the environment and disaster in the organization. And then finally in the module number 10 we are going to be cover all the four new labor code is provisions and application and practically designing of the templates for that, but how the scenario is going to be changed when these four codes are implemented. So now it comes to that the people who or the member aspirant who are going to this program. However, the maximum pricing we have added at your website for it, it is around the 49,599. But those people who are aspiring to join this program through this live session, because we have already the member of our SBR Learning community, so we have here the special price. However, those people who are coming from the direct in this program, they will be get the enrollment in this program by paying around 12,000 rupees. But from this live session, it has we have a minimum, because as per our that definition, we have providing a platform of the reasonable learning is a very less cost. So the people who are going to be who have joined this program previous, so there is around the 70 number of the learner or the enrollment here as of now with this program, because we have started it in the since September. And then there are the 70 number of the aspirants who are learning with us with this program, and then this is costing to them the 29,000 rupees, 2,900 rupees, only 2,999 rupees, where you are getting the dual certification. One is the labor law compliance specialist, and separately the certified post practitioner. So then it is not here enough only. So what you are getting with this, so there we have the separately providing you two additional courses for the cost of 28,000 rupees. That is the website mastery program, which is your new portfolio or the future resume, as well as the maximum, the 95% percent of the organization using the Excel. So there you can also learn with this program the advanced Excel mastery. So that is costing 28,000 rupees. So that is free of cost. Now, how you can pay? If anyone want to go with this program, so they can pay it. There are two platforms, even the Paytm or the Google also, and they pay you also how you have already paid. So this is specifically the pricing which we are sharing here. That is for the who are the already existing member of the SBR learning community, so that it can be have the long relation with you for learning with the specific or smallest amount. So they how you can pay, there I'm sharing one link to you in the chat box if you want to go with this program, so that you can click on that link and check out that if you are going further, so that here I can share with you that confirming your name that you are going with this program, and then confirm, then further the confirmation and other document will be received to you when the payment will be confirmed. So this is about this program. If you want to go with that, you can also go to this link what is inside that, and then the schedule, and that's the all program or its curriculum I have been shared it with you. And then further now it is about your questions. So here we are covering all your questions now, whatever you have. Okay, Prashant has asking that's okay. Thank you so much, Prashant, for your, and one thing that which is one of the most important thing which I have mentioned in the beginning. So this is a certificate program, and you will get the certificate of participation. So that will be released by Monday. So for that, what you have to do, you have to share your name, what you want to mark, because sometimes the name which you have registered with us, so that may be the full name, or which you don't want to on the that on your certificate you want to separate name. So that's why you need to be, you have to share the name. So but till the Sunday you can share your name with us through that maybe through WhatsApp or the Telegram group, as well as the email also, so that by Monday you can get your certificate. And all these template which I have been shared here, so you will be get it by today. So the team will be sent it to you. And furthermore, so there also we are also seeking. This is the program where you have also to rate about the presentation, rate about the learning, what you have learned. So you have to share one feedback through email as well as the through the WhatsApp group. You can also share that, or the Telegram. So now here I'm covering the question. So Rajwal is asking the question that the new code question is too long. So just give me.
Yeah. So
Okay,
thanks
so
for the session
okay,
actually.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
You can
See,
ask your question now. Yes, please.
yes, I need some clarification on the wage code.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some points were mentioned it 12, 13, and 14.
Mm-hmm.
So which is saying that the employment of women 7 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yes.
Now it's been allowed according to the wage code 2020, right?
Yeah, as per the new code, so it has been allowed in that the female can be engaged by beyond 7 p.m. and before 6 a.m. But it is
Correct.
conditioned also for the employer that you need to assure their through and through their security also,
Okay.
and you have to be assured so that you have to be pick up and drop them with the security so that there cannot be any issue to the female.
Okay.
Yes.
So is that any geographical condition like which state or any
It is
like
not
which allowed?
defining. It is not defining that
Mm-hmm.
it has been the critical stage also. Even though it is a specific, the law is protecting the working class. Working class means specifically who are working on the machines.
Right.
So as of the there, if you have the certifying standing order, you the organization who have the different working in the different shift. So they can engage the female up till the 10 also, because it can need to be in the midnight. It started with the 10 or it started with the 8 also, but you have to be get the approval with the your certifying standing order when you are changing the your working condition in the different shifts for the female. So as of now,
Yes.
you can also do that up till 10 only, but you have to get that certified from the authority and you have to be obtain the approval for that.
Fine. Understood.
Yeah, so it is not
And
there.
another.
Yes, it is not
Yeah.
mentioned that it should be for any particular condition. So it is when you are engaging the who are the operator machine operating the machines. So they can be engaged beyond that period and before 6 a.m. also it has been allowed under the, but when it will be implemented by if with the new financial year, so it will be become effective from that only.
Correct. Understood.
Yes. Now, any further
There are
question?
another point 12 on limit leave encashment.
Yes.
They
So
allowed
there also
only.
just okay, just I'm also sharing the screen with you so that I can 1 and 12. So 12 is the limitation, limit leave, encashment, and carry forward. So what as of now, so there are we are providing the three types of the leave to the employee.
Correct.
One is the your earned leave, which is known as privilege leave also, and another are the sick leave and casual leave. In maximum organization, so there are the casual leave and sick leave. If the employee are not availing that are very less organization they encash them, or there is no provision of the carry forward. But the new law, what is saying, it is saying that it will be now carry forwarding and it can be accumulated up till 30 numbers, and after
Okay.
30 numbers you have to be encash them, means there will be no leaves now lapsed.
Lapsed.
However,
Okay.
yeah, however, for the which is known as the earned leave or the leave with the pay, so that are the unlimited, you can carry forward that from the unlimited period of the
Fine.
unlimited number. So that are the provision which has been made under the new code.
Fine. Another one is the unlimited. Leave without pay.
Yeah, you can
Is
do
that
that.
allowed?
Yeah, it is unlimited. It can you can also allow that. So it is defined. It is not that defining that it should be in, but the organization it has been providing the provision for the organization. You have to be set up your
Correct.
internal standard for that. So law is saying unlimited. It can be maybe 90 also, it can be 100, it can be 120 also, it will up to, but you have to be define your internal limitation for that. So otherwise, when one person is retiring after retirement, you are paying the all leave. So it will be whatever you are paying to them as a gratuity also. So there will be also the payment of leaves also. So accordingly, you have to be define your internal. So law is open for this point. They have been defined limited, but it will be open how much you can limit it.
Fine.
Okay. Any further
Yeah.
question?
Yeah. And then wage code again. Salary
Mhm.
structure you have shown on slide.
Mhm, mhm.
Like the basic DA and other
Yeah, so that is as per
other
the new
structure.
law. First, understand the definition. So in the definition, it is saying about that your the salary, or specifically as per the law, it is wage. So in the wage, there should be the three major components. So although it may be two components, one is your base salary, and in the minimum wage, that is defining the basic pay or the minimum wage, that is including the base pay for that job, and secondly the dearness allowances. So it will be altogether your basic pay, and then another one is the retaining allowance. So, however, it is the law condition. You can also divide it further in the different. So that's why at the end I have also mentioned that you have to develop the structure or redesign the structure that which should be aligned with the income tax, so that there cannot be more impact, that the impact related to income tax to the employee. So that you have to add the another component. However, as per the provision of the code, so it will be all the retaining allowances. You can divide it two, three, four components also. Based on the income tax, you have to include that also when you are designing your new structure for your organization.
Fine. So
Okay.
can you show that slide, because in the deductions, how this could impact in the ESI PF?
Okay.
So how
So
they calculating from the new code?
So it is here for it is the definition of the existing minimum wage. So however it will be the same in the future also. So you are talking about this one. So how is it
Yeah.
impacting
Yes.
for the contribution for ESIC and EPFO. However, it is specifically there are the for EPFO they are the condition. As of now it is a limitation, but when the future there will be the 50% of wages. So if 50% of wages, what I was saying it here, if you are paying the minimum wage, so you have to be that contribute the EPFO contribution on the same. And
Okay.
however, for the further also, then where the limitation as of now, there the EPF is the ceiling of 15,000, and maximum whose wages are or whose salary are more than the 15,000, and who as in the employee level also. So there you are paying the specifically on the 15,000 rupees. So it is the many organizations they are having the same, but very less organization who are deducting the contribution of the existing that the actual basic pay. But what will be happen as of now in the new regulation? You have to consider the that the 50% of your gross salary as a pay. So you need to be deduct the contribution based on that basic pay now. Will not be the condition of the capping of 50,000 will be removed when this new code will be implemented. So it now there it will be impact the financially it will be increased for you. However, we have here shared with you that it is a limitation for you. If the minimum wage is the like 12,000 rupees, then you can divide it further on the different scenario for your organization. So there is the maximum it will be up till the 50% where you have to be cover up it. If it is more than that, so you have to be deduct the contribution on the actual basis. It means it will be increased in the some area, like in the new condition in the lower class where is you are paying the minimum wage, it will also increase. But somewhere in the two level, like your executive who are within the range of 20 or 25, so it will be give some relief to. But it come to the again the senior level of position, it will also increase the contribution amount to the employer. But it is helping the organization who are dealing with the who have the international worker. But it is specifically for those international worker with whom India don't have the social security agreement. Earlier, that it was not with the Japan like 2016 or 17, so 2015 or 16. So for the Japanese employee, if the organization they have the Japanese employee, so we had to pay the contribution of APFO on the whole the salary, even that is the monthly 6 lakh rupees. We have to pay on the whole salary of the 12% of PF on whole that monthly salary. But further, when this new code will be implemented, so their salary you have to divide in two component. For perspective of the your provident fund contribution, it will be the 50% of the. So it will be give some relief to the employer, so that your final that the impact on the related to the contribution it will be reduced to them.
Okay.
So this is all about this. So accordingly, you have to be that design or restructure your salary in your organization before these law will be implemented. So there someone else has raised the hand. Is there any further question?
So Prashant,
Yeah.
Okay. So first, we will conclude the question from Rajwell, and then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
will go with the Prashant.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Actually, I wanted to know about the bonus impact in the wage code. Is there old condition is there, or any new implementation of that?
For
with a bonus.
bonus, as of now, so there is not any defined under the provision of the law. However, there are many discussion is happening, or
Right.
maybe new till then. When the code will be implemented, there will be something new will be come out. There are also the
Okay.
discussion or panel discussion is happening. Even though there is the scenario where the organization there have been started the 12 hours of that is the 12-hour working day and the 4 day of working. However, the law is not saying it about. Law is saying that you can engage an employee for a 12 hour, but the 4 hour that should be in the scenario of 4 hours, and that overtime you have to pay that double. And secondly, you have to get the consent, but it is not clear in the law. So that's why in many, like in the Gujarat state recently, it was happening that the employer they started to engage the workforce for the 12 hours. So it is still the loopholes, but when it will be actually come the final the notification, then it will be specifically come out what is in that exactly. However, but you need to be well prepared for that. The scenario will be same, but there will be little bit changes, because as the committee basis, the law committee and the labor department committee, so that is going to be work for the ministry of the labor department. They are going to be work still the negotiation with the expert, and that's why the government is also that having some the like consultant, how they can finally ease it further. However, there you see in the what is going to be happen when these four new codes, it is impacting financially. If the compliances are not fulfilled, it is going to be impact the organization that tremendously. Around 42 lakh rupees can be imposed. However, as of now, there are many organization practices. So by monthly 2,000 rupees or under paper, you are assuring the compliance on document.
Yes.
Okay. So is there any further question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks for the clarification with all the
Okay,
questions. And
thank you so
finally,
much.
course certification can be get when actually
Sorry.
the course completion means this certificate. I'm asking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, participation certification you will be get by Monday. So for that, what you have to do, you have to be share your name, what you want to mark on the certificate. So it is you have the time. Tomorrow is Saturday and Sunday. So Monday by evening you will get the certificate. So if you are
Fine.
going,
Yeah.
if you are going to the next level of the course, so there you will get the completion certificate, as well as there will be separate assessment for the post practitioner also. So it will be around 3 months of the full course. If you spare 3 hours per day, you can complete within the 30 days. So now the question from the Prashant. So please ask your
Yes,
question
sir.
now.
Yes, sir. First, these returns.
Okay.
These are the. Is there any change in returns as per the new code?
As per the new code, there is no such returns also, but they have done in the rules of the, because as of now the many state they does not finalize their state rule. However, we also does not go deeply into the state rules. But in the central rule, they does not have changed anything there. But what they have done, they have defined the accumulative return. However, whatever the data we are sharing with the 22 return as of now, the organization they are submitting in under the different existing labor law, that similar are into the four new codes. What is going to, you have to submit the four document.
Okay.
As per the, there is the one that is the consolidated. However, the data are same. However, there are some clauses. They have been removed, like they required under the Factories Act. There you have to submit many long that data, which is known as the consolidated data. Similarly, that the consolidated run under the every the four new codes, but they have removed something where you have to be just provide the specific data. So that is the change point about the return. However, it will be depend on, because the state will have their own rule. So then after, however, there will not be too many changes. It will be similar three and four types of the change. However, the form number will be changed. So some there will be the serial number of the document will be changed, or otherwise some information will be little bit. They will be asked less than information, and the other state will ask higher than little bit more quantity of information. Otherwise, there will be no changes. But the change is in that you are submitting as of now under the different law. So, however, in your organization, there are around manufacturing around 29 of the law applicable. So, there you have to submit around the 22 return. There are the many return in consolidated, some are the separate also. So, that all together that has been consolidated as per the specifically the code, because the code are nothing new, that are only the merger of the existing labor law. So, similarly, that has been that replaced that resemblance in the all the new four codes. So similarly, something has been reduced. So there is no too big thing which has been changed as the finally you have to be submit the that the compliance status. So return is the compliance status.
Okay, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Any further
Okay, sir.
question?
Sir, gratuity.
Okay, Brian.
You initially it was 5 years where we were considering 4.8
Yeah.
month. Now
Yes.
it has changed to three years. So what?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
calculation will be same, but as per the new law, the social security, so it will be now applicable on the employee who will be eligible, who can claim the gratuity. So it is the 3 year. Earlier it was the 5 years, so now has been reduced with the new code for the specifically the social security code. It has been 3 years. Means when an employee he will be completed 3 year in organization, he will become eligible for the gratuity. However, the calculation will be same as the previous also. So then when he will be actually retire or superannuation or he left the organization after the your completing of the 3 years, so then you have to be paid it. So
Okay.
it will be same on your the 50% of the wages concept. Right here, the gratuity will be increased. As of now, it is on the basic. So we are paying something. It is 4.8%, but it will be as per the 50%. So accordingly, it will be little bit the amount will be increased. It will be increased around 15%. What you are paying as of now, so it will be around 15% of the amount that will be increased. So if you calculate it 4.8, so it will be around the 5, not 5, it will be 5.95 something,
Okay.
which will be amount will be increased, but it will be definitely finally come it when the final every regulation, or even though there are also many point of the discussion also. So when it will be notification come to that, with that it will be finally come out that what is the exactly going to be happen in there. But before that you should be ready and prepared for that, so that immediately you can apply that.
Okay.
Because there is the one that the scenario behind that, the government, they are also pushing up the authority to collect the fund from the organization. So that's why the the fine provision has been increased.
Okay.
So that is a major reason for such the changes and reforms in the labor law. So that is specifically the collecting of the money, so that the department like the factories department as well as the labor law department, they can generate their monies. And however, it is good for the organization also if they implement and assure it with the systematic way and assure everything, so that they can be safe from many areas and perspective.
Okay. Sir, you will be sharing this video training
Yes,
to us
this will be shared with you.
and PPT also.
PPT will not be shared, or otherwise
Okay.
all those template which we have shared with you. So you will be get it by today also. Today
Okay.
by maybe 1 or 2 hours later, we can share it with you. And secondly, for the PPT, that the video will be shared with you, so you can pick up. You can
Okay.
also click the screenshot. You can utilize
Okay.
that as
Okay. Okay.
that the PPT
For
also. So
information.
yeah, for information, or when anytime you are going to be implement this whole scenario. So what
Hmm.
you can do, you can also
Hmm.
refer that video and all those template which will be reached to you, so that when you will be find something
Okay.
difficult, so you can also refer that. And further,
This.
you have also given the social that platforms where you can also connect to. It does not mean that we will not help you. It is enough for the today also. But further, if you have any query, so we will also answer that on the different platform. Like you can share the email also to us. You can share question on the WhatsApp group also, on the Telegram also. So we will be share that. However, it will be take sometime maybe 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hour, or sometime maybe one day. But it, definitely we will be answered to.
Okay. So this master class which you are going to conduct start.
Okay.
This is for 30 days, right?
Yeah.
And the fees you said is two
It is
triple
the
nine
yeah 2,999.
for the 30 days course.
Yes, yes. So it
And
is yes,
this will
please.
be regular course for how many hours?
So regularly it has been, there is a two scenario for that. However, there are the we have already recorded this because we started it from the September. So the one batch we have completed. So
Okay.
there are the around 90 plus videos are available there, and then you have to go through that. If you spend the 3 hour in a day, so you can complete in the 30 days. But we have designed in the initially that for the 3 months,
Okay.
so that will be live courses. And then after there we have the on a monthly basis two live sessions, so that we can answer all your queries, and also where you are stuck in with the learning, so that we can answer to you all that queries. However, there are remaining two final module are available. So every week we are conducting that. However, every Saturday and Sunday 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. there are the live session. However, within this February we will be complete those two that the modules. Then from the March it will be twice, 15 or 13 there will be live interactive session for the member who are going for this program, their query resolving and your issue at the workplace, we will be support you in that.
Okay. So you mean to say that you will be sharing, you will be giving videos for that
Yes, yes,
course,
we have
and
our,
apart from that, live will be on
yeah,
Saturday, Sunday.
live will be also
Uh,
there, so that we can
okay.
give you. It is a hand holding for. It does not mean that many program you will be find that are only to the self appeals. You have to go to their their academy or their digital platform. So on that
Okay.
platform you have to learn, and then after you finally when you complete that you will get a certificate. It is not that. It is
Okay.
specifically your practical learning where you have to go with the video first, then on the weekly base for February or till the 15th of March. So there will be every Saturday two session, because there are remaining two modules which are going to be covered. So that is the your the management as the environment and disaster, and then the last one, the module number 10 is related to your four new codes. So it will be take around one month completing it all. Then after we will be go monthly twice regular the twice monthly two session on fortnight basis every 15 days. So that will be 2 hours where we will cover up all your queries where you are facing, then issue to implement at your workplace. Even though we have the designed many template, even though every the return how you have to submit that, what are the data you have to be done, how the excel format we have prepared, how you have to collect the data, how you have to submit the return, how you have to apply for the registration, how, even though every we have covered the maximum number of the industry, like there is the factory, shop and commercial establishment, plantation, then and the contract labor, we have also covered the mines, also the dock workers, we have covered the BD and cigar. So every industry we have covered in this program. So it means specifically we are making you specialist, even though you are working as a professional for a particular industry. If you are working as a level of the service HR services provider, so everything we have been kept in this program. So however, when in the initially we have started this program, it was considered that it will be completed within 30 days or within the 2 months of the that every week two session for 2.5 hours. But when we practically the people they have the query, so then we focus it major. So when we started it in the September, so still there are the two that the module which are required to be implemented, that they are going to be covered. So that's why we are focusing major on the your learning, and so that we can focus major on your professional skill for the future. So that is the basically the objective of this program.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, is there any question?
No,
So
sir, thanks.
So Rajat, that the Rajwal is asking, yeah, 2 days, yes, you will be get all that. It is our 39th that the master class. However, we conduct it on the every Sunday, but specifically when some people demand that we cannot attend the Sunday class, so that's why we organize at the Friday. So every session we have the recordings also. Then we will be share with you all those templates which we have shared. However, there I have shared with you 7 or 8, you will be get around 12 or 30 number. So there we have provided you different types of the checklist for the contractor, for your factories, then other thing how you have to conduct that separately the audit, or the specifically the level of compliance in your organization, their audit and inspection. So there are the different documents we have. Or furthermore, if you want to learn also, you can go at your website. Website is www.azutrend.com. There you can get about the different law which we have there, also different posts and article available there. So there you can also learn about there are the many article available related to the HR as well as the labor law, where we have provided the insights and the practical learning about the at our website, where you can learn from the that articles also. So whatever we have shared here, the template you will be received as it is. So maybe it is now two. So possibly by 1 and 2 hour you will be get the mail, all that document. Then this video it will be available by tomorrow is Saturday, possibly tomorrow evening, because it will be edited by the team. So there is some part like the beginning I have shared about. So that's it can be, it is around 3 hours of recording, so that it can be 2 hours, or so the maximum learning will be there for you. So whatever the part is not relevant, like the introduction about the that the SBR Learning Studio, it is not relevant for your learning, so we will be cut that or edit from there. So it will be as it is for your references and learning, so that you can also learn that. It will be lifetime access to you when you require to access. However, with this one-time registration, you can also attend the other every Sunday's program also. So it will be for free of you. You can attend this video. But what happen in the next program? So here 80% we will be cover up the same, and then the 20% will be the updated one. Updated one means if there is any changes happen, if any state they are changes their regulation, they have just to have some new notification, so that we will be discuss about that, so that you can be updated on. So you can also attend this Sunday session every that free of cost. Till then it will be continue going on. When we started this the SBR Learning Studio, it was not about that we have to earn something. It was about that we have to develop some professional skill, so that because during the period of COVID, we see the out of 8 people who are into the HR, they lost their job. It was the studies also. So that's why during that time we have also decided why we should not focus on the people to develop their skill. So that's why we have kept is the very minimum that the funding also. However, the professional which we are, it is a gigs also. So the people they are working, we have the team of 5 to 6 number of the people. So there are only the 3 people of who are working from the back end, or otherwise who are the on the that are the promoter also. Then 1 and 2 people they are also working with the organization. So this is all about developing the capacity for the future, so that people can be sustainable and they should have their own capacity. They should have their own branding. So that's why we come with this platform. Is there any further question?
No, sir. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much
yeah.
for
Yeah,
joining
but
this.
this session, sir, you will be sharing us a video for
Yes.
this master class.
Uh-huh.
And when we should start and then end, and you will be conducting test or exam. That is all.
No, you are talking about the mastery course, or you're talking about
Yeah,
this
yeah.
master class? Mastery course. So mastery course, if you join today, so because there tomorrow is this tomorrow session, so every Saturday and Sunday we have this session. So if you join today, you will be get the by today evening 5 p.m. So there is one orientation session. So already 3 and 4 people who have joined in the last Sunday. So we are going to the orientation session. From tomorrow, they will be get access to the live one. Then the live will be completed because it is the 2 module live only. So module number 9 and 10. When it will be completed, then after we will be go for the further every month there will be 2 live sessions. So that will be in the late evening, like 7 to 9 or 8 to 10. So that we can cover up that during your free time, so that you can learn maximum and you can ask the question to us if you have any question at the workplace, if you have any question related to what we have learned in the video sessions, and if there are any changes or any that the new notification has given by any state which is relevant to all the law, that we are going to be covering that that the fortnight live session, which is the hand holding specifically for the members.
No, that my question is like, sir, I'll be joining in between only.
Okay.
So how you will arrange my training?
So your training. So if
your 9 to 10 modules are already done.
Yes. So for that, there are already the recording previous session is available. So you have to be go with that. Okay. So then in the every session there is the one assessment.
No, live session. Live session is Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, live session is Saturday, Sunday as of now.
Correct. And
Saturday, Sunday.
These videos I have to go through and self, right?
Yes, those videos you have to go to self. So then every Sunday, Saturday, Sunday.
So you will be sharing me one slot only for the all classes.
Yes.
All videos.
Yes, we have
that I can do in 1 day also, or 2 day, or 15 days, whatever.
No, it will take around, because there is at least 1 hour of one video.
Okay.
So that will be take around, if you at least if you take the around 3, you need, if you have to complete that in the 3 hour the whole course. So you have to be take 3 hour in 1 day, so that you can complete it within 3 days. No, 3 days, 30 days. So you can also, you can expand it. That is the lifetime access. Anytime you can also go there.
How many videos are there total?
There are 90 videos.
19 videos.
90
videos.
Yes, because we are covering there 34 existing labor law and the 4 new codes. So there are the 37 codes available. So that is the totally practical learning. Then we have to work on the different templates also. That template we have designed in the live with the question of the members who were the participant. Then it is taking at least 1 hour video is available for every section or every session.
It's like each video is 1 hour.
1 hour, yeah, minimum 1 hour.
Okay, fine, sir. Where I need to pay this?
So that I have shared with you the link. on the chat box. If you can go to otherwise.
If you can share me on WhatsApp, sir, that would be
Okay,
better.
I will share with you WhatsApp. I will not share. I will be, so backend team is attending in a call, so
Okay,
they will
okay.
share it with you. So whatever the number where you have registered, so you will get that from.
And where I'll get the videos, sir?
So when you will be registered, you will be get a confirmation. So with that confirmation, you will get a link of our academy. Then there will be also one video recording of the orientation session, so that you can go with that orientation, how you have to access that. So if you join, so within 1 hour, so by 5 p.m. you will have also the orientation session live with me. So then you can know that where you have to access that. So what are inside that, so you can get everything. So within the this orientation, why we organize that, so that people can be access that. It is our digital academy. It is available on the digital platform where there are more than 50 number of the different program available. Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for joining this session.
Yeah.
And also share your name for the certificate. That is the condition. So Monday you will be you will be that will get the certificate of this master class, and then this video will be available by tomorrow only.
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for joining the session.